there's 4 teams that can make the Big 12 championship game. OU, Texas, West Virginia, and Iowa State still has a shot, believe it or not. It's most likely going to be OU and West Virginia. They may end up playing.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You think Iowa State's going?
I think Iowa State's going to go.
All right.
Honestly, because I think when you look at it, look at the schedule, West Virginia's got to play OU head-to-head.
Yeah.
Okay? Iowa State has got – I know Iowa State's got Texas. But right now, I mean, let's be honest. Who do you think the better football team is? Iowa State or Texas?
Iowa State.
So I like – and then other than that, they've got Kansas State, who has really spit the bit since beating Oklahoma State. And they've got Baylor this weekend at home in Ames. And, I mean, Baylor should have lost last week. I mean, we can go through that, and I'm sure we will. But, yeah, I think Iowa State wins out. Okay, now all Oklahoma needs to do to push Iowa State into the game in Arlington, if Iowa State wins out, is beat West Virginia. And, you know, I kind of think they will.
That would be an interesting comeback for the Cyclones. We said on here, they've got a really good coach, Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell. I've drawn a blank. He was a really good football coach, and they struggled there. Now, they do have a game scheduled for Big 12 Championship weekend, which they added in Carton at Word, which obviously if they go to the Big 12 Championship game, they're going to be calling in Carton at Word and saying, don't bother.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, Incarnate Word, I'd like to make a joke out of that, but Incarnate Word is winning their conference. They're winning the Southland Conference. So I'm not so sure, but if Iowa State really wants to, they could put together a JV, play them in a warm-up game at AT&T Stadium. I'm sure Incarnate Word would love to come play at Jerry's World. That could be the warm-up act, although the Big 12 Championship has an 11 a.m. kick. So they'd have to play the JV game at 7 a.m., which would be a little early. But, no, I mean, I'm kidding. They're not going to play a doubleheader. But, yeah, there's no doubt. Incarnate Word gets booted off the schedule, and Iowa State will go to Jerry's World and play in the Big 12 Championship game. And let's be honest. Again, this is a team that a year ago beat OU and TCU, the 2 teams that did play for the Big 12 Championship. So I don't know that any of us should be surprised with Iowa State. I think the one big surprise is they needed to find their quarterback. They had some talented guys. Zeb Nolan was the guy that threw the ball around the yard against OU in the game back in September, which actually was about as good as anybody in the Big 12 other than Texas has played against the Sooners. So I think when you look at it now, I think that Iowa State certainly is a fit there. And I'd like to see Iowa State against OU again.
Yeah,
with Purdy at quarterback, with the confidence that Iowa State's gained. Because, I mean, you look at it, what they did to West Virginia. They beat Texas Tech, in a game that was pretty competitive. And then last week, they just showed up against Kansas. Okay, 27-3. That's all we need. Let's roll out of town. And they rolled out of town, and the next day they were announcing David Beatty would be done at the end of the year, which that was going to happen anyway. But I'm just saying Iowa State's a pretty good football team. West Virginia is too. I mean, based on what they did last week against Texas, showed a lot of guts to go for the 2-point conversion. And
that's our 2 talking points, is the Texas Longhorns in that West Virginia game. Then we'll get to the coaching changes that are inevitable here in the Big 12. Listen, Texas is the arrogance that no matter what happens, Texas is Texas. But it seems to me that this year, and you've been around it a lot longer than I have, you know a lot more about this stuff than I do, but is Sam Ehlinger tweeting and Tom Herman's making comments in the past 2 weeks, is that a buildup of the arrogance at Texas, or has it always been this way to their kind of whining about it? I mean, Tom Herman went as far to say that he thought it should be called back. I don't care what the rule book says. That's a ridiculous claim. You got beat. He didn't do that the first time he crossed the goal line, and they, Tom Herman had called a timeout. They ran a 2-point conversion twice and converted twice. You lost. What's going on down there in Texas?
I think it's a continuation of what we've seen for a long, long time. Texas has entitlement. It's funny because as I left to come over here, there was a conversation going on the radio about a local businessman in town, Ken Houck, who's a longtime Big 8 referee or Big 8 official that was applied for the Big 12 supervisor of officials job back when the Big 12 was first born. And the truth of the matter, and the guy who got hired was from Texas, Ken had no chance for that job. Mm-hmm. There wasn't going to be anybody hired for that job that lived north of the Red River. I mean, that job was going to go to somebody that Texas wanted, and it was going to be somebody that lived within the state of Texas, and it was. In fact, the supervisor officials in the Big 12, I think it's always been a Texan until now, and it's a Colorado native. Guy that lives in Denver, Colorado is now the supervisor of officials in the Big 12. But I'm just saying, you know, you had teams like Missouri and Texas A&M and Nebraska that left the conference. Go ask those schools why they left the conference. They left because Texas was overbearing, and if they didn't get their way, Texas was going to cry and whine and eventually say, we'll just leave. We'll just leave the conference if you won't do things the way we want to. and that's just the way Texas is gone. You know what? I guess it gets your way politically. You get your way in the boardroom, and you get your way with conference commissioners and conference officers and all that. But at the end of the game, sitting at the 50-yard line in a fetal position and crying and bawling is not going to get you wins in the Big 12 conference. So thus, Texas has not won as many football games. But my gosh, they get what they want in the boardroom, in the offices.
Well, the one year out of Holgerson here in Stillwater was phenomenal.
You caught me on the right day for that.
But I'll tell you, when he looked at Will Greer and said, you want to go win the football game? Yeah, okay, let's go win the football game. That was like, bravo.
Okay,
Holgerson.
well, does that surprise anybody?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, but getting it on video, you don't always get those things on video. No, it doesn't surprise me that he went for. A lot of coaches after that timeout, once they'd showed their hand, would have kicked the extra point. No, he went for it again. But no, that doesn't surprise me. So it was interesting to see.
I mean, you know what? I know I'm jumping the gun on this, but you had a coach that coaches your football team here on this campus that did the equivalent in Waco last week. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people now are second guessing, should have punted the football, made them go farther. I don't think anybody was saying that at the time. When Mike Gundy said 4th and 2 at the Baylor 36, let's go for it. I think everybody probably was on the same page. Now, everybody doesn't think you should have called the play you call with the naked boot, but we can get into that later.
So we will get into that. We're going to start with that. We're going to start at the end of the game and work our way back. We're going to take a quick break here on 101. OSU Student Radio KXUI Suddenlink Channel 112. We'll be right back.
Okay, which
To be undecided,
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome into 101 on Ocean Student Radio KQI, Sunlink Channel 112, live from Studio 318 here in Bedlam Week. But we're going to break down the game against the Baylor Bears. So we're going to start offensively, and let's just start at the end of the game, Robert. Let's start with that fourth down play, because you said it best. People were all in for that play call, or for the going for it. No one, I don't think anyone was in on that play call. Running that.
Why?
Well, Baylor, it didn't work. You
got the advantage of hindsight. That play worked earlier in the game. The naked boot,
so they'd used that play.
They had used it previously in the game.
So Baylor had it figured out. Baylor blew that play up. If you've run that play in the game, there's not another play in that playbook that you can go to. There's another scenario.
There's a lot of plays. But you want to go with something. Yeah, and again, I mean, I've been asked this question, and I have the advantage of hindsight too. Would I have run a different play? Yeah, but you know what? The two plays I probably would have run, if we weren't on camera here, because I think you would show me the respect, you would go, "Oh man, you're nuts! No way!" And I'll let you do that if you want. You got to be honest though. If you don't like my calls, tell me you don't like my calls. I would have run a simple zone read.
I like that.
I like that.
Zone read. The other play I would have called, and I've had second thoughts about this myself since, I would have run a quarterback draw. I would have snapped it to Cornelius, and remember they let the play clock run down and called timeout before they actually did the fourth down. If I were Mike Gundy, I would have instructed, Taylor, look, we're going to run quarterback draw, but you have got to take the snap. You've got to look downfield. You've got to sell the fact you're looking for a receiver, then go. Which means, you say, oh, sure, he's going to do that. That's what you do. Boy, that takes a lot of nerve because, here, there's bullets flying around you. There's guys rolling. And what I'm trying to do by doing that is I want the rush to spread out so that once Taylor says, okay, now he's got, there's an avenue right there. So that's why I want him to sell the pass so heavy. But going back to the play that was called, Jelani Woods, who's the tight end on that side, and you've motioned the slot receiver off that side. So it's truly a naked bootleg. You've got a tight end on the edge, and that's it. Jelani's job is to chip that outside rusher, slow him down just a little bit, and then get into a drag, and that's your run-pass option for Taylor. He either runs it himself or he's got a short drag to a 6'8 receiver, 6'7 receiver, which you would think would be fairly safe. Give Baylor, I think the kid's name is Miller, Chris Miller, the defensive lineman. Give him credit because instead of being chipped, he was the aggressor. He knocked the crap out of Jelani Woods, kind of got him off balance a little bit, went ahead and went straight toward Cornelius, and Jelani never really got into his route, so there was no option there. I think Taylor could have thrown it. Mike Gundy said, I wish he'd just thrown it, and instead it's a 9-yard loss, so now Baylor starts at the 45. But we've dissected a play that I'll give you, and there's more than two.
You're right, yeah.
And we count that one as a third. I'll give you two more plays that if they had not happened, Oklahoma State wins the game. If they'd not happened the way they happened.
What plays are those?
What are you talking about?
Well, one of them's the block punt.
Oh, yeah.
Scoop and score. And you know what, guys? I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever seen a punt blocked that was blocked so viciously that it went 20 yards in the air toward the goal line. It was smothered. Okay? So you take that away. And by the way, if you didn't see the misalignment that Gundy was talking about, you had the punt snapper, the long snapper. You had one player to his right. That's it. then you had two guys, two wings out there, two gunners out on the edge. I mean, there was like, hey, come join our punter back here. Yeah, so it was a bad alignment. And it was out of that motion that got the penalty against Texas. So sometimes cute works. Sometimes cute works against you. And that was a case where cute worked against the Cowboys. The other play that I would throw out, you go the third quarter not allowing Baylor to get on the board. They're going against the wind. You've got them, you've got a 10-point lead, and you run a corner blitz. I probably wouldn't have run the corner blitz. But that's okay. Love the aggressive play call. You run the corner blitz, and the corner, who had a meteorically bad game. I hate it because A.J. Green, believe me, nobody wants to help his team and play better than A.J. He is a accountable kid. He comes in on the corner blitz and whiffs badly, trying to make the tackle, and John Lovett goes 75 yards on the last offensive snap for Baylor in the third quarter. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. Took the wind right out of the sails for Oklahoma State.
Now, give Oklahoma State credit. They came back and scored again to make it another 10-point lead with 8:50 to go. But, I just have a funny feeling if Baylor doesn't get that 75-yard touchdown run, the Bears don't win the game. So we've accounted for the last play call for OSU, the block punt, that 75-yard run, and you have to count the last play, the play they scored on. And that one, I mean, AJ played that pretty well. I mean, he's in position, he's got his hand in there, and the guy was strong enough to hold on to the ball. And then we went. At what point are we going to get into the 12 penalties for 133 yards?
Well, let's get into it right now while we're on the topic. And listen, we can't pile on A.J. Green. He was bad, and just about every aspect. And you're right. Who's the first person that's going to stand up and say that wasn't acceptable? A.J. Green. But you're not going to try and pile on him. But the face mask, the pass interference. And it wasn't just him.
And he had an unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah,
early in the game, he got lured into that, and that wasn't pretty.
When Baylor has to go 75 yards and 45 of them are Oklahoma State's penalties, and you're making it pretty easy for an offense. So, I mean, Gundy's mentioned benching players maybe, which I don't know that that's the right move, but I'm not a football coach. But you come off probably your best game, penalty-wise and offensive line-wise, and then you go down there and you give that performance. That's not acceptable. How do they go to Bedlam in Norman Saturday and not play like that?
They've had other games this year where they haven't played like that. I mean, here's what I'm looking at, okay? This team is young. This team is devoid of a lot of upper-class leadership. You lost, from Brad Lundblade to Zach Crabtree on the offensive line, to Chad Whitener at linebacker, and Trey Flowers, to Mason Rudolph and James Washington. I mean, you just lost a lot of guys that when things needed to be said, those were the guys that said it. And they said it with a voice that was fierce, and they could back it up. You don't have a lot of those guys on this team right now. In fact, this is how bad they're looking for senior leadership or upper-class leadership. Darian Daniels can't play. He's out. He traveled. He took up a player spot on the charter. You're allowed 70 guys that you can travel. He was one of the 70. And he was there to provide leadership because he's not going to play.
Yeah.
So and he does a good job. I mean, the guys listen to him, and he's a positive influence over there on the sidelines. Let me say this, too, because we can get wrapped up into the penalties. We can get wrapped up into the misalignments. We can get wrapped up into the lack of execution. But there was one huge difference between this loss to Baylor. And let's go back and say the sandwich loss with the Texas win, which was K-State before the open week. The big difference to me, at K-State, this team had no emotion. They were flatline. Against Baylor, they never lost the emotion. And that goes all the way into the locker room after the game. I can tell as a coach whether my guys care or not. Because if I see tears, if I see guys really frustrated about the result, if I see a guy pass out with the emotion, I know my guys care. So that's the positive. And you know what? That's what takes you toward toward Saturday in Bedlam. Is the guys, you hear this term, I'm not a real big fan of it, but don't let go of the rope. Okay, I can tell when a rope's been let go of. And at Kansas State, I was worried because I thought the rope was gone. I thought it was out there in the lake somewhere and not to be found again. But they found it, and they used it, and they beat Texas. Everybody was on board. Coming out of Waco, guys, you can start, like I said, you can start itemizing what went wrong, but one of them won't be the fact the team didn't care. And that's good, because we've seen this team's good enough to still mount, a good effort if they're motivated. And I think they're motivated. Now, that doesn't mean they won't go to Norman and get their tails kicked because they're going to play a team that is capable of kicking anybody's tail.
Yeah. Well, the 523 offensive yards, they outgained Baylor by almost 100 yards. But you throw in those penalties, and Baylor technically outgains them, it feels like. So you're looking at the offensive totals there. They had a great ground attack, I thought, Saturday. The past 2 weeks, mixing in Justice and Chuba has improved a lot of things for the Cowboys.
I think it could be better, though.
It could. Yeah. Well, you saw a couple more of those backs a little bit on Saturday. But if you're going into the rest of the season, in particular, all eyes are on Norman, where would that offensive backfield get better for you?
Well, I mean, I thought against Baylor that they somewhat established the run. I don't think they went all the way. And I really only think there's been one game this year, guys, that Oklahoma State has come out and just said, look, we're going to run the football. Now, let's see what you do, because once you do, now we're going to throw it over your head and do all the other fun things we can do on offense. And I thought that was a Kansas game. I thought that was the best game offensively. I mean, they were able to do anything they wanted once they established the run game, and they really established it with Justice Hill. So I still think they can go a little further establishing the run. I think the wind had a lot to do with what went on in Waco, but in both offensive coordinators' heads, and head coaches' heads, because everybody got panicked about what the wind was going to do. I'm hoping it's supposed to be cold, in Norman, but I'm hoping it's not real windy. I hope everybody can do their thing. But yeah, that's, to me, you've got to be able to run the football. And this is an OU defense that, quite frankly, they're not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference. I would put the two defenses pretty much on par in the game. The difference is OSU has less of a margin for error because Oklahoma is so damn explosive offensively.
Well, that's an interesting topic, these defenses that we're going to break down here coming up in this next segment. You're watching One-on-One on OSU Student Radio, KXUY Suddenlink Channel 112.
One-on-One is brought to you by Tinker Federal Credit Union. Visit Facebook.com/TinkerFCU. While you're there for your family, we're there for you. Tinker Federal Credit Union. And OSU Communications. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered with parking tips and bus schedule information. We'll be right back.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
By Sunlink Channel 112, live from Studio 318 here in Stillwater, America, which we all three happen to love, unlike some people down south. But we're going to start with this defensive performance on Saturday. Listen, you look at the scoreboard, that punt is not on this defense.
No.
That block punt's not on them. So the point differential is a little different. I thought they had a really good first half. Charlie Brewer came in late with the hot hand, and we all know what happened scoring with 7 seconds left. A guy that I bring up every week because he just flies around and he makes plays is Malcolm Rodriguez. I'm actually really excited, believe it or not, about this secondary because they are so young, and they're for as young as they are and what they're having to deal with. I think they're playing relatively well. What did you see
They've
Saturday?
gotten better too as the season's gone on.
A lot better.
I obviously we've already been through AJ's day, and he had a rough day. Rodarius Williams had that interception on the first possession that kept Baylor out of the end zone, and there's a lot of people that have come to the come around to the thinking that maybe one of the reasons AJ's being thrown out a lot. And remember last year, a lot of times it was opposite. They would throw at Rodarius, and they weren't throwing as much as at AJ because AJ was the more experienced corner. There's a lot of people now that believe the reason AJ's having to defend so many passes is people don't want to throw at Rodarius. He's longer, and he's really a good athlete, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. You'd have to ask opposing offensive coordinators if that's what they're thinking. But no, when you get into it, there's a young corner that's part of this group that's playing a lot. He's already played enough that he's not going to redshirt. Tanner McAllister out of Rockwall Heath that I think is a terrific player. Jarek Bernard is a really good player. You've got Colby Peel that's playing in the secondary. Kanian Williams has now played in 3 games out of Dallas South Oak Cliff, another young safety. And you got Gabe Lemons, who hasn't played. Sean Michael Flanagan, who hasn't played. I think he's played in 1 game. Yeah, there's a lot of young DBs. I think this is going to be a really good group. And there's some kids coming in a class that's about to sign in December that mainly corners that'll give some reinforcement to that position. And I think they're going to be pretty good players. So I'm with you. I like the secondary. My concern would be more on the defensive line, but that's a story for another day. They're going to be really young there next year too.
Well, we talked kind of about this earlier with that defense. I think Darian's probably a leader for the entire group of players, but mainly that defense. I would imagine he's going to be in Norman Saturday.
Yeah, I think he will be. And you don't have to – I don't think they'll have to take him on the official travel roster. He'll drive down for the game, and they'll just give him a pass to be on the sidelines.
So with this defense Saturday, I almost want to move past that Baylor game because of what is ahead of us this Saturday.
Yeah, you have to.
So I want to talk more about.
Oh, you mean for show purposes?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love for you to.
Well, I mean, what happened Saturday? I mean, it wasn't great, but
it's also over.
It's over, and there's
not going to change.
Yeah. And there's so much that's ahead of us this Saturday with Kyler Murray and everything that Lincoln Riley offense that is nauseating. By the way, my Chiefs beat Baker Mayfield. Felt really
Congratulations,
good.
Reed.
Thank you. Felt really good to beat Baker on Sunday. I enjoyed it. But anyways, what does this defense have to do? Not the leadership on the sideline, but on that field. A.J. Green's got to be better. They've all got to be better to slow down Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you've got, and that's the key. I mean, it's a shame to make a game that simple. This all comes down to Kyler Murray. He is what makes OU's offense explosive, whether it's with his legs running or whether it's throwing the football. And then again, they have the other options of Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks and the running backs that maybe aren't quite Rodney Anderson, but they're pretty darn good. So it just comes down to stops. I mean, you've got to get stops. You've got to be able to get them off the field without points. And in fact, if they do get down in the red zone and you're able to cause them to kick a field goal versus punt, because they're one of the best red zone teams in the country. You keep them off the scoreboard with a touchdown, make them kick a field goal, that's a victory. I think what you probably have to do is, if you think about 12 possessions being the average in a football game, which means 3 possessions a quarter, especially in the Big 12. That's probably a pretty accurate number. Okay, somebody said you got to get a stop a quarter. Oh boy, I think what you'd rather do is, if you're 6-6, first half, second half, I think you have to get. It doesn't matter if you get 3 in each half or 4 in one and 2 in the other. I think you have to keep them from scoring on 6 possessions. If you do that, and you can count that in your head during the game, there's 1, there's 2, see how close you get. Now, I'm also banking on the Oklahoma State offense to be able to score against Oklahoma, which I think that's reasonable. But I would say this: if you hold them without points, or let's say you hold them without points on 4 possessions and maybe just a field goal on 2, okay, you can add that up. That's 34 points. That's kind of my over and under. If OU's got more than 34 points, I think they win the game. Well, if they have 34 or less,
there's a chance.
There's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a big chance if that's the case.
So I guess that kind of, the question for me then is, what does Jim Knowles focus on? Does he focus on blitzing Kyler Murray, putting as much pressure on him as possible while maybe keeping a QB spy out there? Or do you try to stop the receivers OU has? Because they have 2 of the best in the conference.
Well, I think overall I would want a defensive plan closer to what you had against Texas. And I don't know how many people caught it. They spied Ellinger rather. They spied Ellinger against Texas. Not every down, but especially after OSU took the lead in the first half. Second half, they had a spy on Ellinger. I think you got to mix it up. I think sometimes you've got to play your defensive coverage back in zone and say, look, if you're going to throw to those wideouts, that's fine, but we're playing a safety over the top. So you're going to be throwing more than likely into double coverage. And remember, their slots are good too.
Yeah.
Lee Morris, he's half his catches are for touchdowns. I think he has like 16 receptions, 8 have gone for touchdowns, which is crazy. So you have to cover everybody. But I think I think you're right. I think you got to go after the quarterback. And I'll tell you this too: if this is dangerous after last week to say, if you get a shot at Kyler Murray, you got to take it for all you got. I mean, you can't go in there and I'll just drag him down. I don't want to hurt Kyler. You take your shot. Now, it doesn't mean targeting. Doesn't mean when he's running out of bounds and he's a yard out of bounds. Doesn't mean when he's delivered the ball and you've taken 3 more steps that you hit him and it's roughing the passer. I'm saying within the rules, you got to beat on this guy. You got to hit him hard. Make him think about everything he does. And the mixing of coverages, the mixing of whether you go after him aggressively or pull back a little bit, you do that to play with his head. I mean, do everything you can to keep him from thinking, ooh, I know what they're doing. I know where I'm going with the football. Make him have to think about what he's doing.
Yeah, I think he's the second leading rusher on OU's team, which I think if they don't have some injuries, I'd probably change a little bit. But you saw what he did in the comeback to almost beat Texas.
Right.
If he gets loose, what a nightmare he's going to be. Because Charlie Brewer came in for 8 rushes, and it felt like he is still running. So Kyler Murray could be, he's already a nightmare, especially. I mean, look at his press conference. That wasn't fun to watch. But, he is very, very talented. He's very.
I would argue. I thought it was fun. I thought, hey, he took his shot. If you don't think Kyler Murray knows what Mike Yurcich's last name is, he knows who Mike Yurcich is. He knows how to spell Yurcich. Okay, so that's gamesmanship. He's taking his shot. Well, the next day, your guy took his shot.
Justice Hill took his shot.
Justice Hill got on little boys, or was it little
kids,
young people?
Kids or something.
Kids.
Fans, kids, and little boys.
And little boys.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He took his shot.
I don't have a problem with trash talk. I don't, it is what it is, saying I don't like Stillwater. Into College Station.
Here's my favorite.
Come on.
Here's my favorite. Curtis Bolton, the OU linebacker, says, hey, man, he can do what he wants, man, but he's going to have to prove it. I got news for you, Curtis. When the game starts, if you're sitting there at your linebacker position thinking, there's Justice Hill. He put that thing on Instagram and embarrassed my teammates. I'm going to crush him. If you are thinking that, you're about to get beat, son. Because you better be thinking about when the ball's snapped and what your responsibility is and what you're going to do. And if there's a wheel route, please be thinking about how you want to crush Justice Hill, because that's when they'll run a wheel route that you won't notice and you'll get beat on. So, once all that, the trash talk fuels you during the week. Yeah. But once the game starts, the only trash talk you might pay attention to is the immediate trash talk on the field. And I even believe if you're doing that, you're probably hurting your team. I'll be anxious to see who the officiating crew is. Because my personal preference will be get control of this thing early. I don't want to watch a game with a bunch of yapping going on. Get control of it early and play football.
Yeah, I think the trash talk, with Kyler Murray kind of started, it fuels more of this and the Twitter fingers than it does what happens in the locker room.
Did you watch the OU Tech game?
I watched part of it, and Tech, I thought, if Alan
Did you see when CeeDee Lamb got 2 personal fouls on the same play?
Yeah, by the way, how does an OU lineman punch a guy right in front of a ref?
There's another one. And not get anything called.
Get ejected. I thought with Alan Bowman, if he's healthy throughout the game, back in the hospital, by the way, so worried about Alan Bowman and what he's going to be able to do, throughout his career at Tech. But I thought the Tech battled well enough as we've got our other Hornets flying here to the studio.
They're back?
Yeah, they're back, Robert.
Oh.
But I thought that...
Well, they've come inside because it's turning cold outside.
Yeah, you should see when we were discovering Nest mid-show at one point, so that was great. But anyways...
We could turn this into a nature show.
We could. There's no telling what you'll find in this building. But with that Tech game, what does Oklahoma State look at? They battled back with the backup quarterback as you're looking around.
I'm okay.
But if you look at that game in your Jim Knowles, is there anything that Tech did in that game to slow? OU put up, 51 points? Not like they slowed them down. But do you think they can get anything from that tape against Tech?
Well, I guarantee you he's going to look at the coverages they threw out there early on Kyler Murray, because he threw two quick picks to the same guy, same DB. So, you're definitely going to look and see what those coverages were, and whether they disguised it or not, because that's something Kyler Murray showed he had a problem with. So, if that's something that's in your repertoire, you're probably going to pull it out Saturday and run it. I think you also look at what Army did. You can't. You can't keep the ball like Army did, but they apparently did some good things defensively when OU had it.
So that's something that'll be interesting. We'll talk about what the Cowboys want to do offensively in order on Saturday when we'll be right back on One-on-One OSU Student Radio KXUI Sunlink Channel 112.
One-on-One is brought to you by Oklahoma Christian University. Get your master's degree in accounting, business administration, theology, engineering, computer science, or cybersecurity from Oklahoma Christian University. Apply at oc.edu/grad. Oklahoma University is committed to offering the best graduate school experience we possibly can. Come learn and grow with us. And The Table. Stop by The Table on Thursdays at 8 p.m. to join their Bible study. Shoot Rachel an email at rachel@thetableosu.com for more information. We'll be right back.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-6010.
Welcome back into 101 on OSU Student Radio KQI Sunlink Channel 112. Our last segment here of our little Bedlam preview here. As we all know, the record, it's 86, whatever, and 4. Whatever the record is, I don't like it. But anyways.
87, 18, and 7. But that's OU. I think OSU has a different number.
Yeah.
I think OSU, it's like 86.
Something like that. 16
and 7,
8,
whatever.
yeah.
But it has to do with a forfeit when OU had a
right.
probation. Anyway.
Well,
I prefer to look at the whole sports record. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, at least we never wouldn't go down there and play football.
Exactly.
You know, I'm looking at you, Lou Rosselli of the OU wrestling team. Won't wrestle OSU twice because they're not competitive. We never did that. But anyways, the interesting thing here, it's true.
No.
Is going down to Norman. It's almost good to be this much of an underdog. The line just moved to Oklahoma State's 20-point underdogs. The last 2 times they were that big underdogs in Norman was 2001, 27-point underdogs, and 2014, 19.5-point underdogs. Oklahoma State won both of those games. We don't have Tyreek Hill, but maybe if they kick to Chuba at the end of the game. But I think Lincoln Riley probably has seen that enough times that they wouldn't make that mistake again. But do you think that this team is going to relish in Bedlam underdog type of stuff, coming off a very tough loss, losing with 7 seconds to go? We talked about the lack of vocal leadership. Justice Hill doesn't like OU, clearly. A lot of guys on that team probably don't like OU. I think sometimes fans get caught up in the players aren't as probably big on the rivalry if they're not maybe from Oklahoma. I don't really know how that works. Mm-hmm. But do you think they're relishing in that Bedlam opportunity to pull off a huge upset?
Yes. I mean, and I base that off what I've seen during the week and what I've heard from the players. I do. I think there's, and I base it on that losing locker room in Baylor. You know, again, I mean, it's when a team gives up, when a team's done, they're done. And I thought maybe this team was in that position in Manhattan, Kansas, but they proved me wrong. And I don't think this team is ready to be finished. I think they want to keep playing. I think they want to get to a bowl game. I think they're serious about the opportunity of playing 2 ranked teams back-to-back with OU and West Virginia. I know a lot of fans, like for instance last night, I watched the college football playoff rankings come out. It was in between the Kansas and Michigan State game and the Duke-Kentucky game. And I watched them. Not because my team was going to be in there. They weren't. But the last 3 years, OSU's been in almost every one of those. I think they have been.
I think they have been in every one until the first one this year.
Sure. And so now, you look at the situation now and say, well, God, my team's not involved. The heck, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very involved. They're playing OU this week and West Virginia the next week. You can't get much more involved than that unless you're in the top 10.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think this team's given up. I think they want to play. I think they very, very much remember the feeling from the Texas game and their fans storming the field. And let me tell you something. And I've been there both the times you mentioned. I was there in 2001 and I was there in 2014. There is nothing sweeter for an Oklahoma State football player than to be standing on that turf at Memorial Stadium with the game over and you've won the game, and the silence, the just utter church-like silence of OU fans, walking out of the stadium as a loser in Bedlam. It's great. It's a great feeling. So, yeah, I hope this team is all over that, all about it.
No better feeling than an OU fan not talking. I'll tell you that, Logan. But we talked about what the defense needs to do to slow down Kyler Murray. You got to put up points to beat these guys because they're not shutting out OU. That's obvious. But what does Taylor Cornelius still has the backing from this coaching staff? What does he need to do?
Why wouldn't he?
Well, that was the fans. The fans.
Sure.
That was for the
and
fans.
I mean,
not this
anybody who
staff.
says last week in Waco, I mean, in really bad conditions, he threw for just a shade under 300 yards, caught a pass that set up a touchdown, ran for 1 touchdown, and I think he had some runs that help on some other drives to keep those alive. So, no, I mean, it's my weekly defense of Taylor Cornelius. But what do they need to do against Oklahoma? I think you need to establish the run. Make sure that OU, both in the defensive front and especially the safeties, have to be concerned about Justice, about JD, about Chuba. Those guys have to be, and Taylor. I mean, they have to be concerned about the run. If you've got them thinking run, now, Tylen, and remember last year, Tyron Johnson's best day as a Cowboy was last year in Bedlam. So, I mean, you can consider him at least a one-time Bedlam killer. So, and, Dylan Stoner, Landon Wolf are both native Oklahomans. They get it. I got asked an interesting question. Do you think Oklahoma State plays harder against Texas than they do against Oklahoma? Because look at the success in the series.
I think vice versa. I think that's an interesting question, but I don't think Texas plays as hard against Oklahoma State as they do OU. Because OU fools everyone in Dallas. Every year, everyone is sold on the Longhorns when they compete with OU or beat OU. I don't think that Texas respects OSU like they do OU, and they probably should, losing 4 straight.
Well, and the other reason for the record is Texas isn't as good as OU. I mean, Mike Gundy said it earlier this week. Somebody asked him, you haven't had a lot of success against that. He goes, you know what? Neither have a lot of people. Look at them down there. They're pretty good. They beat most people. So I think he probably is right about that. But I don't think that's the case. I do think the Texas kids on the team grew up more with that Texas thing. But I think once you've been here for one of these, you understand it. So I think everybody's on the same page. I think you'll get, a tremendous effort. Once you establish the run, get Dylan Stoner, Landon Wolf, all the receivers. You know what? I want to see how they try and cover Jelani Woods. It's not like Jelani's going to catch 10 passes, but if he can catch 2 or 3, I can remember some of Oklahoma State's really good wins in Bedlam involved a tight end or a Cowboy back making a few catches. Jelani Woods needs to be somebody that shows up in this game as well.
What would you say the importance is for establishing the run? Like, who's first, second, third?
Justice Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to be too. He grew up in Oklahoma. He doesn't like OU. He's made no bones about it. He did kind of deflect with the media and say, just out to have some fun. I'm not trying to be a trash talk. Well, I mean, that's his coy thing. He's playing just as coy as the quarterback is down in Norman about trash talking. Very creative, but he was trash talking. So I want to see Justice Hill get established. Had over 100 yards last year. And here's the other thing. Toward the end of the player interviews earlier this week, I asked Justice, I said, is this on your list of things to do while you're here? Because you know what? He ain't going to be here much longer. This is it. He's going to go. I'm pretty convinced he'll go to the NFL draft next spring. Okay? And he said, yeah, this is something I really wanted to do. I mean, it would be really special to me to beat these guys before I'm done at Oklahoma State. So, yeah, that's the guy I want to give the ball to first. But Chuba, even though he's Canadian, and JD, even though he's from Georgia, they get it too.
Yeah.
They want to beat OU. So, hey, the more the merrier.
There is a certain, yeah, you're right. There's a certain pride aspect going into this game. You talked about Jelani Woods maybe not having 10 catches. You might just put him at the end to see how things go. He's so big. But you're looking at those routes. Dylan Stoner had a really good game. I mean, Tyron Johnson the last couple of weeks has really stepped up.
Tyron Johnson had a good game last week against Baylor, so I think that's a great sign. And his, like I said, his best game ever came last year against Oklahoma. So, yeah, and that's the other thing. You're going to need everybody.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, this isn't just any team you play any given week. This is the best team in the Big 12. They have been for a long time.
Turnovers-wise, that's something that's plagued the Cowboys. They got one last week, but a big drought after I believe it was 33 games in a row with a turnover. Do you think that they could force Kyler Murray into making some mistakes? Because, I mean, Kyler Murray is a smart football player, but he can be forced into ad-libbing some plays and making some mistakes. Do you think that they have the ability to make him do that?
Well, I hope so. I mean, Texas Tech did. I mean, and I think Texas Tech is improved on defense. David Gibbs has done a good job. They've got some good playmakers, but I mean, I don't know that I mean, they're better than Oklahoma State statistically, but do I think Oklahoma State's capable of doing some of the things Texas Tech does? Yeah, and Tech forced, those 2 interceptions early. I mean, if you told me right now that Oklahoma State was going to get 2 interceptions in the game from Kyler Murray, there's 2 of my 6 that I've ordered up.
Mm-hmm.
Possessions that OU gives up the football. I would say, great opportunity. Here's one of the things I'm concerned about, though. OSU hadn't forced many fumbles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to see that happen, and I think OU is capable of spitting up the football. Here's a good thing: you got beat at Baylor last week. You had a lot of problems, penalties, and missed tackles and a block punt. But guess what you didn't do?
Didn't turn the ball
Didn't turn the ball over. So the offense, you ask what the offense needs to do, there's another thing they need to do. Don't turn the ball over. Taylor doesn't need to throw any picks, and I don't think we have to worry about those running backs. They're pretty good with ball security.
One thing that it's obvious, and you can't lose the game if you want to win it. You can't make mistakes yourself and give OU points. Special teams last week, they gave them the interception, and I get the wind was blowing but they showed it in pregame. He didn't make that kick but once, I don't think. Matt Amendola, mentally that can wear on a kicker. I don't know if he's like that or not, but special teams, he's got to make every kick, and Zach Steiner cannot have a punt blocked, and that wasn't his fault. But if anything changed, which is my weekly question to you, where is this special teams going to be at on Saturday?
Don't know, but you make a good point, and I do think they were in a misalignment, and the guy got a free run. Britton Abbott could have tried to chip him a little bit. Britton's the guy there on a 2-man shield, and then I thought Zach Steiner still took a long time on operation on that punt. I mean, especially if you see a guy free running. Take a couple of steps the other way and punt it quickly. Because you'll take a 20, 25-yard punt versus a touchdown.
Right.
Against you. So you've got to be smart. And that was not a very smart play all the way around. Where will special teams be this week? I mean, I hope in a much better place. I'm not worried about Amendola. And one thing I do feel good about, and this would be the best week of all for it to happen, I do believe Chuba's going to break a kickoff return. I think he's close.
Yeah, he's been close the past 2 weeks. So we have a little under a minute here. Who you taking in this game?
I gotta take OU.
It's fair enough.
They're just so good.
Show. Robert, where do you think this game's going to go on Saturday?
You know what? I don't think it'll be a 20-point game. I'll put it that way. I would have to give OU an edge. I think you have to, but like I said, I have a lot of faith in this football team. I don't think they're done. I think they're ready to fight like heck, and so and you know what? If you don't pick them, I'm gonna be really ticked because you're the lucky picker.
Yeah,
the Cowboys are gonna win on Saturday. We've been watching.
You said it with conviction. I love it.
That's what we need.
Huge upset Bedlam victory for the Cowboys. You're watching One-on-One on OSU Student Radio, KXUI Sunlink Channel 112.
One-on-One is brought to you by Oklahoma Air National Guard. Contact Oklahoma Air National Guard at 800-GO-TO-ANG or visit their website at goang.com/OK for more information about how to get 100% college tuition. And Unitarian Universalist Church. If you're looking for a church home, visit Unitarian Universalist Church of Stillwater, located at 320 South Stallard Street. They offer an alternative spiritual path and welcome all races, religions, and beliefs. They are also LGBTQ friendly. Services every Sunday at 10:30. We'll be right back.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
Cash prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
On this week's edition of the Poke Report, we'll give you a recap of last week's game in Waco
and show you some of the hardest working people in the Cowboy basketball program.
All this and more on the Poke Report.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Poke Report. I'm Thomas Fleming.
And I'm Robin Hearn. As you can probably tell, we're not on OSU's campus today. We're visiting our friends to the south, as Pokes like to say.
That's right, we're here in Norman in OU's Gaylord College of Journalism and Communications, and we're only here for one reason, and that is Bedlam.
That's right.
Bedlam has always been a highly anticipated matchup regardless of the two teams' record. Our own Dylan Tippett gives us insight on the historic rivalry.
Bedlam. Everyone in Oklahoma recognizes the name and knows what it holds, but everyone may not know where the name originated. Bethlehem Royal Hospital was the first asylum for the mentally ill in London, England. Bedlam became a generic name for psychiatric hospitals and was used to describe an uproar or something of mayhem. And that's exactly what it has become in the rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. The first Bedlam football game dates back to 1904. It is the fourth longest continuously played rivalry in Division I football and the longest ongoing rivalry between two public universities in the same state. This weekend will be the 113th matchup between the two teams. OU leads the all-time series 87, 18, and 7. But despite the record being so lopsided, the rivalry remains one of the most anticipated matchups in college football every year. Linebacker Justin Phillips and wide receiver Tyron Johnson weigh in on the rich history of Bedlam. There have been some exciting finishes in recent years. OSU's last win was in 2014 at Norman. A replay of a fourth down punt sent the ball into the hands of Tyreek Hill, and he would take it to the house to send the game into overtime. OSU would go on to win 38-35. The most recent meeting was a highly anticipated matchup between current NFL quarterbacks Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph, with college football playoff implications on the line. It was a shootout, and the two QBs would combine for over 1,000 passing yards and 10 touchdowns. OU prevailed 62-52. Even though this year's matchup looks to be the most lopsided it has been in recent years, don't be surprised if it comes down to the wire between these two rivals. For the Poke Report, I'm Dylan Tippett.
Thanks, Dylan. Hopefully this year's edition is one to remember.
You know, that story got me thinking about some of my favorite Bedlam memories. Thomas, you're a senior, so what are some of your favorite memories?
I have a lot. Most of them are sad, but one in 2011, winning that 44-10 game. You think about Landry Jones fumbling and Rashedi Jones picking that up, and a lot of good memories.
Right. One of my favorite memories was my sophomore year. I was on the field. Even though I wasn't supposed to, I did trash talk a little bit with some of the players. It was fun, but it was all love. But it also got me thinking of some of our OU counterparts are joining us on the show. So Brooke and Zach, if you guys want to come on in.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are some of your guys' favorite Bedlam memories that y'all have?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to one-up you at 2012. 4th and 1, the Belldozer. Oklahoma State's one play away from winning Bedlam, and they allowed Blake Bell to get into the end zone. Had they stopped him on that play, they would have won. Now, you guys are also going to appreciate this one. My freshman year, we punted the football, but there was a running into the punter call, and Bob Stoops inexplicably elects to repunt. And they repunt to Tyreek Hill, who then runs it all the way back for a touchdown, and Oklahoma State ended up winning that one. Not a good moment, but one of the more historic moments in Bedlam history.
Exactly. Brooke, what's one of your favorite?
Well, I'm a sophomore, so I actually have never been physically to a Bedlam game before. I loved watching the 2016 game. Of course, we won. Went on to Big 12 championship. Whatever. But I'm really excited to make some memories this year in Norman since the game is here, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Well, we're excited to have you guys joining us, and we're going to use you guys throughout the show. You guys are coming later and do game day picks with us. But before we get into that, our very own Anissa Mapp has a recap of the Baylor game over the weekend. Take a look.
The Cowboys went down to Waco, Texas Saturday to try and spoil the Baylor Bears' homecoming festivities. They were coming off last week's upset victory against the Texas Longhorns. Defense started off strong with an end-zone interception by Rodarius Williams to end Baylor's first drive. The ensuing drive ended in a 6-yard touchdown run by Taylor Cornelius. The Cowboys moved the ball well in the first half, but Matt Amendola was only 1 for 3 in field goals, missing from 47 and 45. The 47-yard attempt was blocked. These missed field goals proved to be fatal later in the game. A blocked punt resulting in a touchdown with 2 minutes, 37 seconds left in the second quarter put the Cowboys down 14-10 at halftime. The Cowboys took the lead back in the third quarter with 2 straight drives resulting in touchdown passes from Cornelius to Tylan Wallace. Justice Hill followed with a 2-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. The Bears stayed in arm's length with the Cowboys with 2 touchdown drives of their own, one a 75-yard touchdown run by John Lovett and the other a 36-yard touchdown pass from Charlie Brewer to Jalen Hurd. However, the last Cowboy drive resulted in a turnover on downs, giving Baylor the ball at their own 45-yard line and with 1 minute, 24 seconds left. The Bears marched down the field, and the nail in the coffin was a 6-yard touchdown pass from Charlie Brewer to Denzel Mims. The Cowboys fell to the Bears 31-35. Mike Gundy said, in addition to field goal kicking, sloppy defensive penalties were a key mistake in the game.
It's difficult to get stops, and then certainly when you're giving them 15, 20 yards a drive on penalties, that's where it would start for me, just too many undisciplined penalties.
With this loss, the Cowboys fall to 5-4 overall and 2-4 in the Big 12 and are still trying to become bowl eligible. The Cowboys are now preparing for their big Bedlam game Saturday at 2:30 in Norman. For the Poke Report, I'm Anissa Mapp.
Thank you, Anissa. Hopefully the outcome's better for this week's game for the Pokes. Now, on the Poke Report, we always give our takes on our football games, but since you guys are here, I know OU has a take on it.
Exactly. Let's hear from Sam Brown and Kyle Payne on what they have to say about Bedlam.
Little brothers in town for Bedlam this weekend. I'm Sam Brown alongside Kyle Payne for Game Day U here in Norman. Big game this weekend, just like it is every year. So we're here to give you a quick breakdown of what to expect from Oklahoma and Kyle. It all starts with Kyler Murray and that high-powered Oklahoma offense.
It starts with that offense every week. Kyler Murray has played like the best player in the country every time he's taken the field. No matter what the adversity is, he seems to always overcome it, and he just finds receivers. Lee Morris only catches touchdowns. Hollywood Brown, CeeDee Lamb. If he can get all those guys involved and Trey Sermon can keep it up after that big 200-yard game against Tech, I think the offense will have no problems rolling. Now, on the other side of the ball, you worried about the defense at all?
You know, the defense has shown some signs of improvement over the last couple weeks since Mike Stoops was fired after OU Texas weekend. Had some good games against TCU and K-State. Had some tough moments against Tech, but we're put in a lot of really tough spots last weekend and make some really key stops down the stretch. So lots of improvement. They're going to look to put pressure on Taylor Cornelius, try and fluster him a little early. Justice Hill is a great running back, but the Sooners have also been very solid in terms of rush defense. Held Alex Barnes to 28 yards, David Montgomery to just 80 yards on the ground. They can stop the run. That's going to be key. And then in the secondary, Tylan Wallace, a big threat for Oklahoma State. There's a couple guys who have been solid in coverage recently.
Especially Robert Barnes.
Yeah, Robert Barnes has been playing
and Trey
well.
Brown. I mean, those guys, if they can get it rolling and stop Taylor Cornelius, I think this should be a big game for the Sooner defense.
Yeah, I think the mentality all along of this defense has been bend, don't break. Just be decent. Be good enough, and the offense can take care of the rest. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Sam Brown with Kyle Payne from Game Day U here in Norman. Back to you, Brooke.
Boomer.
Thanks, Kyle and Sam. We can't wait to see what's going to happen on the field this weekend.
Well, we have a couple of other sports to cover here on the Poke Report, so we're going to say goodbye to our OU counterparts for just a little bit.
But when we return, we'll hear from our own Poke Report basketball expert on how both of the teams have fared this past weekend.
Nobody uses better ingredients than Little Caesars, like fresh-packed California crushed tomatoes. Pick up a large, deep dish for just $8.
Pizza, pizza. Welcome back to the Poke Report. I'm Thomas Fleming.
And I'm Robin Hearn.
And we are still here in Norman, Oklahoma for Bedlam Edition. But first, let's talk about basketball. It's basketball season, and it is quickly approaching for OSU. We'll send it quickly to Eamon Kerr, who has a preview for both the Cowboys and Cowgirls, as well as a recap from last weekend's action.
Mike Boynton is going into his second season as head coach of the basketball team and is looking to build on his promising season from last year. The Cowboys had a lot of turnover this offseason, losing 7 players, including 4 of their starters. Of the 5 players with the most starts, Mitchell Solomon, Kendall Smith, and Jeffrey Carroll all graduated, while junior Tavarius Shine left to pursue a career overseas. In fact, Lindy Waters and Cameron McGriff are the only returning players that will have started a game from last season. Despite the large turnover, Boynton has restocked the Cowboys and is ready to go for this season. For Boynton's first game, he stuck with experience, having McGriff, Waters, as well as returning junior Thomas DeZagua in the starting lineup. He also added youth, starting 2 freshmen in Isaac Likely and Yora Ney. With this new-look lineup, the Cowboys faced off against Ouachita Baptist in an exhibition game. Likely, the freshman, got things going for OSU early with the layup. He led the team in scoring with 18 points in his first game for the Cowboys. Boynton says that he's seen this kind of play from Likely the last 3 months.
I've been waiting for the fans to see what I've been talking about and raving about. Guy plays a lot of energy. He's all over the place, makes a lot of plays happen, for not only himself but for his teammates. He led us with 13 deflections as well today, which is a big stat for us.
DeZagua pushes the lead even further with a 3, helping the Cowboys to a 39-24 lead going into halftime. The Cowboys showed real tenacity on defense as well as on the boards, out-rebounding Ouachita Baptist 42-31. Fast break points were huge for OSU as Cameron McGriff steals the ball here and slams it home after getting the pass from DeZagua. Contravius Jones, another freshman, also got playing time, scoring 6 points. Waters was not only a key veteran presence, but a key player for OSU. He went 3 for 7 from the three-point line and tied for second on the team in scoring. The Cowboys held the lead for the entirety of the game and never lost control of it. The exhibition ended with a final score of 80-59 in favor of the Cowboys, who got a lot of their new players to take the court for the first time. For the Poke Report, I'm Eamon Kerr.
Thanks, Eamon. OSU's men's basketball team tips off their season today against Charlotte on the road.
Well, that gets me excited to get GIA rowdy again. I cannot wait for this season to get started.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of high hopes for head coach Mike Boynton and the Cowboys in his second season.
Exactly. Now let's take a look at some people behind the scenes that can help out. Our very own Ryan Charles sat down with a few people that help out the men's basketball team every game day. Take a look.
Cameron McGriff, Thomas DeZagua, Lindy Waters. Those are household names to Cowboy basketball fans. Isaac Rosenthal and Kai Klingzik are not names that many people may know. For the Cowboy basketball team, those 2 names mean so much to the program. Rosenthal and Klingzik are 2 of the 13 Cowboy basketball managers. The managers do everything from setting up for practice to rebounding for the players at any time of day. Rosenthal says that they get to practice about an hour before it starts.
Set up, make sure everything's okay, like all the balls are out, aired up, all the pads, everything coaches need for practice.
The basketball managers don't just make sure everything is out and ready for practice. Klingzik says after practice they stay about an hour to help the guys get up shots.
Most guys like to shoot after practice after they've gotten a little workout in, got a little fatigued, and that's where they like to get most of their shots in.
Junior guard Thomas DeZagua says that the managers don't get enough notice.
I mean, those guys are the best. You can literally call them at any time of the day and they'll come rebound, they'll stop what they're doing. So I really believe that the managers are the backbone of this program that a lot of people don't really know.
The managers sit right behind the players on this bench. If the players need anything, the managers are the first on the job. Being a manager is about a 40 to 50 hour week. Rosenthal says game days are the longest days of the week.
We have shoot around before, so that's 4 or 5 hours before a game, and we're up here an hour before that.
During games, the managers make sure the players have water, and Coach Boynton has a clipboard at every timeout. Rosenthal says that the biggest part of being a manager is just being an extra set of hands.
Just being around. That's the main thing about being a manager, just being around, and whatever there is to do. I mean, if the coaches need something, if the guys need something, we're just here to do it.
When the Cowboys take the court for their home opener on Wednesday against UTSA, the managers will be hard at work behind the scenes, making sure all the players have everything they need. For the Poke Report, I'm Ryan Charles.
Wow, Ryan, it's really interesting to see how Cowboy basketball is from a manager's eyes. Now we're going to take it to our very own Dylan Tippett in the studio, who's our Big 12 basketball expert.
OSU basketball is back in full swing. The Cowgirls hosted Northeastern State in exhibition play and dominated in a 70-37 victory. OSU had 34 points in the paint, almost doubling Northeastern State's 18, and the Cowgirls outscored the Riverhawks in transition 15-3. Sophomore transfer Vivian Gray led all scorers with 18, and Braxton Miller was right behind her with 16. These two underclassmen are expected to help fill the shoes left by Lauren Goodwin, Kaylee Jensen, and Mandy Coleman. Braxton Miller was named to the preseason All-Big 12 team after being a unanimous pick to the conference All-Freshman team last season. Meanwhile, the Cowboys will look to pick up off of an impressive first year under the Mike Boynton era. They had 6 wins against top 25 teams, a program record 4 wins against top 10 teams, and a quarterfinal appearance in the NIT. Despite a solid season in which expectations were exceeded, OSU is projected to finish last in the Big 12 once again, likely due to the loss of production. This team might be young, but it does not lack leadership with returning juniors Cameron McGriff and Lindy Waters. The Cowboys start their Let's Work campaign today at Charlotte. And let's not forget, Robin, the Cowboys will be back in Gallagher-Iba Arena for their home opener on November 14th against UTSA.
Thanks, Dylan. Can't wait for this season to get started.
Well, with all of the on-the-court success that the Cowboys have been having as of late, they've been having their fair share of off-the-court issues as well. Transfer guard Michael Weathers had his court hearing over his September 9th arrest this past Tuesday. Weathers was arrested for grand larceny and knowingly concealing stolen property at Stillwater bar J.R. Murphy's. His hearing was originally scheduled for Monday, but was moved to Tuesday after his case was lowered to a misdemeanor. Cowboy wrestling was back in action over the weekend at the OCU Open in Oklahoma City. The Cowboys ended up taking home 9 individual titles, starting with redshirt junior Nick Piccinini getting the Cowboys' first title of the day in a round-robin bracket. The Cowboys ended the tournament with senior Preston Weigel defeating Andrew Marsden 4-0 in the finals.
Now on to cross country. The OSU cross country team is in postseason. The team combined for a conference-leading 26 academic All-Big 12 selection for the season. On Friday, the team travels to Peoria, Illinois for the Midwest Regional. In equestrian, the 8th-ranked OSU equestrian team fell to number 6 TCU over the weekend. The Horned Frogs took 4 of the 5 flat points to win the meet 11-9. The Cowgirls will be back at home for their last fall meet today against West Virginia A&M. Well, that's a lot of sports for us to cover, but strap yourself in because we're going to take it to Haley Woodard for the Cowboy Roundup. Take it away, Haley.
Thanks, Robin. Welcome back to another week of the Cowboy Roundup. Abigail Brayman and Hannah Mitchell were named Big 12 Riders of the Month for the equestrian team, and the Cowgirls are currently ranked 8th in the nation. The cross-country teams, both men's and women's, will be traveling to Illinois for the Midwest Regional as they look to qualify for nationals. Victor Hovland was named the Big 12 Golfer of the Month for October, and the Cowboys just finished up their fall season at the East Lake Cup where they came in 4th. The Cowboy wrestling team brought home 9 titles at the UCO Open on Sunday, which makes for a great start to their season. Cowgirl tennis wrapped up their fall season at the Oracle ITA Championships on Thursday, but don't worry, just as their season comes to an end, Cowgirl basketball is starting up, and they take on Arkansas State to open their season. And the men's team will be taking on Charlotte in North Carolina today at 3 p.m. You can catch that game on ESPN+, but you might be juggling a couple of games. As everybody knows, it's Bedlam time in Oklahoma. The Cowboy football team will be taking on the Sooners today at 2:30 in Norman, and the Cowboys need a win in order to stay bowl eligible. Be on the lookout for all of our OSU teams competing today. For the Cowboy Roundup, I'm Haley Woodard. Back to you, Robin.
Thank you, Haley. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, our OU counterparts are going to join us to make our game day picks.
Love these things. Hilarious.
Sorry, force of habit.
As long as you are you, it's Miller time.
Welcome back to the Poke Report. I'm Thomas Fleming.
And I'm Robin Hearn.
And I actually have a package on this week's show. Very excited about it. I got to sit down with the OSU Polo team to learn about one particular horse who got a second chance.
OSU Polo is stocked full of veterans, but there's one member who's younger than all the rest, and it's not a player. Meet Amelia, an 8-year-old thoroughbred and the team's newest addition. The team found Amelia last year at a feedlot. Most horses who don't get sold off to a rescue end up being taken to slaughter. Fortunately for Amelia, she wasn't most horses.
She's the first one here that we've rescued from a kill lot. Most of our horses are generally donated.
Amelia came to the team with no polo experience and little interaction with humans, but current president Tess Sabatini took the responsibility of being her trainer.
Not every horse is fit to play polo. It's a difficult training process that can take up to a year. but Amelia showed enough promise for them to give her a chance.
We saw that she was really easy to handle, she was calmer, she wasn't afraid of a lot of the things that were going around in the background, so we brought her back.
Now, Amelia is one of the team's biggest assets. She's still the youngest horse of the bunch, but she's now on the starting string of the women's varsity team. She even played in professional tournaments this past summer.
She's so cute. I'm so proud of her. She's come a long way from where we originally got her, and I'm just really proud of how she's done because it's mostly been her.
After a year of bonding, Tess is now Amelia's official owner. She bought her from a former member for $1 in 2017. Now, Amelia's not only her teammate, but family.
She's your little baby, and she is kind of part of the family now, so you kind of build that bond, and then they become part of your family, and hard to let go.
For the Poke Report, I'm Thomas Fleming.
And you can follow the OSU Polo team and Amelia this year on Facebook or their official Twitter page.
I love horses so much. That was amazing, Thomas.
Well, there were plenty of great games that went on other than OSU and Baylor last week in the Big 12. Let's send it to Tanner Kennan, who has the recap from the best games this past weekend.
The college football playoff is inching closer each week, and there are still 2 Big 12 teams in the mix. West Virginia and Oklahoma both have 1 loss, meaning that every game from here on out is a must-win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Both teams were tested on the road this week, with one game coming down to the very last possession. Will Greer and number 13 West Virginia traveled down to Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns in the Big 12 game of the week. First quarter, West Virginia down 7-3 until Greer finds David Sills on a vertical, and he does the rest. 60 yards later, the Mountaineers have the lead. But just over a minute of game clock later, Ellinger finds Lil Jordan Humphrey, and Texas leads 14-10 after 1. West Virginia driving, and Sills gets his second score of the day on this back shoulder throw from Will Greer from 18 yards out. After a Texas score, Greer hands it to Petaway, who makes 2 guys miss at the line of scrimmage, and he is gone. 55 yards later, West Virginia retakes the lead. Next Longhorn possession, Ellinger snaps one to Trey Watson, and Watson breaks a tackle and takes it in. Texas leads by 1 at the half. Skip ahead just under 3 minutes in regulation, Devin Duvernay gets behind his man and Ellinger drops a dime, and Texas goes up a touchdown. Last chance for West Virginia, Will Greer goes for it all, and he finds Gary Jennings, who gets his foot down just in time. With 16 seconds left, the Mountaineers decide to go for the win, and it's caught by Sills, but Texas calls a timeout right before the snap. So we try again. This time, Will Greer has nowhere to throw, so he takes off for the pylon, and he gets there. West Virginia gambles, but it pays off as they win 42-41 in Austin. Oklahoma found itself in a shootout with Texas Tech, but came out on top behind 208 yards and 3 touchdowns from Trey Sermon, winning 51-46. The top teams live to fight another day as they prepare to face each other in the regular season finale. But Oklahoma will have another tough test this weekend. Thomas, we both know there are no free wins in the Bedlam rivalry.
Thanks, Tanner. Do you have any quick keys to the game for OSU this coming weekend?
The first is going to be keeping Kyler Murray in the pocket. Every time he gets out of the pocket, he is a much more explosive player, being able to throw on the run and take off and run himself. But a better way to stop them than that would be to keep them off the field entirely. And the best way to do that is with long drives. So Taylor Cornelius is going to have to march this team down the field and give their defense plenty of rest if they want to have a chance to knock off the Sooners.
Well, as always, we appreciate it.
Well, speaking of keys to the game, I think we should give our keys to the game for this week, but we're not going to do it alone. We're going to welcome back Brooke and Zach. Come on, guys.
Hello.
Oh, finally.
All right, let's get started. So what are y'all's keys to this game for OU to come out on top?
Brooke, go first. I think our offense has been pretty good this season, but we just need to keep it going. We need to kick it into high gear. You know, Kyler let the ball turnover twice when we played Tech. I think we need to prevent turnovers on our side of the field and just kind of keep it going.
Well, if OU thinks this is going to be a cakewalk, think again. Oklahoma State has, they rank very highly in many offensive categories, and both teams have awful defenses. OU fired their defensive coordinator, has a new one, it's improving, but it's going to have to continue to improve if they're going to want to win this Bedlam game.
Exactly. I think those are some good keys. Thomas, what is your key for OSU to win this game?
Well, they had to stay out of penalties. They had over 130 yards in penalties against Baylor last week. OU had similar penalty issues against Texas Tech. That'll be something interesting to watch. But also, offensively, Taylor Cornelius playing in his first Bedlam game. I say unload the playbook, just see what happens, because you're a multi-point underdog, to say the least, and there's no reason not to just let it all go and see what happens.
Exactly. I think Taylor Cornelius is going to have to play one of the best games of his entire football career on today. But I also think we're going to need to utilize Justice Hill in the receiving game a little bit more, because when he gets the ball, I mean, he takes off. He's Speedy Gonzalez. But we'll see how that one goes for the game behind us. But we're going to get into some of the games happening around the nation. So let's get into our game day picks. Are you guys excited? It's the best part of the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best part of the show. It's our favorite part. Let's get into it. So first up is Mississippi State at Alabama. Who do you have for that one, Brooke?
I wish I could say something other than Bama, but honestly, they're ranked #1. You can't beat Bama.
Exactly. Zach?
Yeah, so here at OU, we like to think that we have the best offense in the country. Bama can say the same thing. I don't see them losing at all. Maybe ever again. Now we're talking about lower under center.
Exactly. Thomas, who do you have?
I would have to agree here. You know, Mississippi State's offense has seen such an improvement from last year with their new offensive coordinator from Penn State, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I think Alabama rolls.
Exactly. I'm going to have to go with the Tide too, but you know, they're going to win, so that'll be an easy win for them. Next up is where College Game Day is going to be. Is Clemson at Boston College. Zach, who do you have for that?
We've got Clemson. It could be a lot closer than we think. It's at Boston College, and it is going to be a great atmosphere with game day being there. But Clemson, I actually have as maybe the only team that could beat Bama, and I think that they're going to continue to roll through Boston College.
That's a good analysis. What about you, Brooke?
Yeah, you know, Boston College is ranked, but they're going against Clemson. I'm just going to go Boston College.
Whoa.
I'm gonna say maybe, you know, something crazy is going to happen.
It is a night game.
And then you look like a genius, too.
And then I'll be the right one, and everyone else will just...
Heard it here first. Nobody on game day is going to choose them, so you might be the only one.
Thomas, who do you have?
Yeah, I got to take Clemson on this one. Boston College has looked pretty impressive this season. They've won 3 straight, and they get Clemson at home. But I think the Tigers will come out on this one.
I agree. Of course, like I said before, I'm not going to go against my guy, Dabo Swinney, so I got Clemson for this one. But it is a night game, so Boston College could come out on top. But last but not least is Bedlam, OSU at OU here in Norman. Let's get it. Brooke?
You know, I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game. I think OU is going to win by 9, regardless the score. But I don't know. I think it's going to be played very well.
Here on our show called Game Day U, I consider myself a legend. I actually once predicted a score correctly, and so I'm going to go OU 54, Oklahoma State 30. I don't really see it being a close game. It could be. It is a rivalry game. Rivalry games are absolutely insane, especially in college. But, I mean, I just think with OU's offense, I mean, like I said, I do believe OU might have the best offense in college football. I really do see them rolling through this matchup.
At least you gave us 30 points. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Both defenses aren't good, so.
Exactly. Thomas?
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with the Crimson on this one, and Crimson and Cream. I think the Sooners have it. I really think OSU's offense can't keep up, and guys like Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown, I think they'll probably roll through this defense fairly comfortably. So I got to give it to the Sooners on this one.
The last time you did that?
I was wrong.
You were wrong.
The last time I was
homecoming.
Wrong. That's
true. So
true.
once again, I'm going with the Cowboys. I'm staying loyal and true. I like Thomas over here, but prove Thomas wrong again. I think the Cowboys are going to come out on top on this one. It's going to be a close game. Like I mentioned, it's a rivalry game, so of course it's going to be close no matter what. But as long as the Cowboys offense can just get it going quickly and just get to the end zone as fast as they can, I think this should go the Pokes' way.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Did you choose Oklahoma State to lose their homecoming game this past?
I did.
You know, on our show, I actually had you guys winning, so I believe in you more than you do. Wow.
How is this possible?
Wow.
You know, she picked Boise State to win earlier this season.
I did pick Boise State. I will admit when I'm wrong, but you.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how that one goes. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank you guys for joining us and allowing us to come at your amazing school. So thank you all, and we're going to sign off right now. But I'm Robin Hearn.
And I'm Thomas Fleming.
Thank you guys for joining the Poke Report. We want to remember this moment, so let's take a selfie, guys. Is everybody in? All right, everybody say 1, 2, 3, go Pokes. No.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome into your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. I'm Colby Powell along with you as always. No Donovan Woods today. Donovan's out. Deion and Imade will be joining me, the former Cowboy, in the next segment as we get ready for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Big one today between these two teams. Everyone knows about the Bedlam rivalry. Lopsided throughout history, 87-18 and 7 in favor of the Sooners. But it's always a big game. Seems like it has a different energy this year. We're no longer in the Mayfield-Rudolph era. That was a golden era of Bedlam football. Those two guys battling it out. Last year, the 62-52 game here in Stillwater at Boone Pickens Stadium. It was unbelievable. This year, it's Kyler Murray and Taylor Cornelius. And Kyler Murray obviously has been incredibly successful down in Oklahoma. He's been one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. He's likely headed to New York for the Heisman ceremony. Even if he doesn't win it over Tua Tagovailoa, he'll be there. He'll get an invite for sure. So Oklahoma State will have its hands full today in its attempt to slow down this Oklahoma offense. Kyler Murray, Trey Sermon having the best season of his career, obviously with the injury to Rodney Anderson. His carries have increased, and he's made the most of his workload. He's played great. Kennedy Brooks, the young back, has been fantastic. And then the receivers, I mean, what do you need to say about Hollywood Brown and CeeDee Lamb? Those guys are unbelievable. Two of the best in the entire country. And then on the Oklahoma State side, you've got Tylan Wallace, who is unbelievable. Tylan Wallace is the next superstar receiver at Oklahoma State. And he's probably still the third best receiver in this state. So a lot of talent going to be on the field today. Taylor Cornelius, he's going to have to play better than he did a week ago in Waco, pardon me. The wind, obviously, a factor in that game, but you've got to throw the ball better. And from an offensive standpoint, I think Mike Yurcich needs to put his guys in position to be successful. I don't think they did that a week ago in Waco. Justice Hill, not a lot of carries early in the game when you had a chance to distance yourself from the Bears. And then in that fourth quarter, I thought that they got a little away from themselves on that fourth down call, under center, play action. It was not a good situation for Oklahoma State. So hopefully the Cowboys can put something better today. Myself, Deion and Imade, we'll be previewing this game right up until kickoff at 2:30. We'll be back after the game. We've got Robin Hearn down in Norman going to be joining us a couple of times, and we're actually going to send it to Robin now. Before we send it to Robin, though, let's take a look at Library Lawn here in Stillwater as we honor all of our fantastic veterans who allow us to do what we do. So we'll take a peek at Library Lawn, and then Robin Hearn will take it from Norman.
Go Bucks! Thank you guys. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Grad. Oklahoma University is committed to offering the best graduate school experience we possibly can. Come learn and grow with us. We'll be right back.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back in the Oklahoma State Franchise Pregame Show. Colby Powell with you, Deion and Imade with me for the first time this season. Deion, Bedlam Saturday, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. Cold, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's a little chilly today, so luckily we're inside at the garage here in Stillwater. Everybody needs to come out and see us right here on Knobloch, just about a block south of the stadium. You can see behind us, everybody's having a great time. It's starting to fill up the closer we get to game time, because this is a great place to watch the game. There's a TV there, there's a TV there, there's a TV over my right shoulder. You cannot look anywhere in the garage without seeing a TV, and I bet they're all going to be on Bedlam here in about an hour and a half. So everybody come down, hang out with us at the garage as we get ready for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Deion, you played at Oklahoma State. As someone who's been a part of this rivalry, I don't know, does it mean something different for the OSU guys than it does for the OU guys? And the reason I ask that is because OU has Texas, so they've got another big rivalry. This is Oklahoma State's rival. This is it. So is this game different for the Oklahoma State players? What's this feeling like all week for the guys as they get ready for this rivalry game?
I've always thought about that. I mean, yes, OU has another rival with it being Texas, and they play in Dallas on a neutral field, and it's a big thing in the middle of the season. So I think we do have more motivation, more, want to during these games, because let's be honest, they lead the series in this rivalry. So we want to come back and show everybody in the world that we can play with these guys and we can be the top-notch team in the Big 12. And to do that, you got to take on the other team in your state. You can't be the big-time school in the Big 12 if you can't beat the other team in your state. So that's always extra motivation as well.
Yeah, and it's been tough for Oklahoma State to do. Oklahoma State has not beaten Oklahoma historically. I mean, Oklahoma State loses this game. If they lose it 5 times, they'll win it once. That's every 5th year, every 6th year is about how often Oklahoma State wins this game. It's not like anybody else is beating Oklahoma regularly, aside from Texas. Those are the 2 schools in this conference who have the prestige, who have all the talent, the recruiting classes that come in. So it's not as if Oklahoma State should be winning this game every year, even every other year. I think the problem that Cowboy fans have is in the Mike Gundy era, the winning percentage in Bedlam has actually gone down.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 18.7% whenever Gundy got here. And then since Gundy took over, they're winning at about 15% of the time. 2 divided by 14, you can figure out what the winning percentage is in Mike Gundy's era in Stillwater. I mean, what is it in the golden age of Cowboys football when it seems like 3 or 4 out of 5 years Oklahoma State's winning 10 games? Why is it that they can't get over that hump and beat Oklahoma?
I mean, you got to be honest with yourself. If we're looking and if we're taking away the rivalry from the big picture, if we're looking at the aspect of it, OU is a good team.
Yes.
I mean, as much as it pains me to say so, because they are our rivals and we can't stand them, OU is a good football team. They put together some great teams, they got great athletes, and they have the tradition to stand behind it. So therefore, when you look at our team versus their team, you can't look at the orange and the maroon. You have to look at the fact that, what do you see on paper? What do you see?
The fact that you just called it maroon, I like that. That's funny.
It's not like I care what the color is.
That's funny. You're not giving respect for crimson, calling it maroon.
Crimson and cream,
maroon,
red, whatever.
Maroon got me going.
But the thing is, you got to take all that away and look at the 2 teams on paper. What do you have? What are you looking at? What are the stats? How are they playing week to week? OU is a good team. That's why it's hard to beat them. It's pretty simple to see that. Pretty simple to see that. I looked at a stat yesterday. My friend Jeremy Poplin told me this. I think Mike Gundy has a winning record against everybody in the Big 12 except for OU.
Oh, yeah.
Except for OU. I mean, Texas, he's still 7-7, so we're 500 on that. But the only team that without a winning record is OU. Hopefully they can fix that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's Man, it's wild the way that this series has played out under Mike Gundy. And it's not like there haven't been good games. There have been classics in Bedlam. We've had for a decade plus now absolute classic Bedlam games. The one last year here in Stillwater was unbelievable. 62-52 was the final, so 10-point game, but it was closer than that. Oklahoma State was driving, 4th and 4, chance to go win the game. Mason Rudolph overthrows Tyron Johnson, and Oklahoma, Trey Sermon takes it, 55 yards to the house. OU wins by 10. But that was a great game. Now that we're in the post-Mayfield-Rudolph era, because the Mayfield-Rudolph era, I mean, that's a golden era for these two schools matching up in Bedlam with those two quarterbacks. Now that we're in the post-Rudolph-Mayfield era, I don't know. I feel like this week has felt different for me. I feel like it hasn't had the same energy. Last year, this game, the spread on this game was a field goal. This year, it's 3 touchdowns. Do you feel the same way? Like there's been a lack of Bedlam energy this week?
I feel it, and I don't know, maybe because I live in Tulsa, so it's kind of different for me to get that energy. But I mean, you can tell nationally wise. I mean, it was probably going to be if they go on to beat Baylor last week. I think this game is the college game day comes down to Norman, and it's focused on this game. Exactly. Yeah. So with that being said, where OSU stands at this point, it took some of that energy away from the game, from the rivalry. And I mean, you see some players tried to inject that back into the game. I mean, Justice Hill with that Instagram, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But people are a little down. They're not as pumped for this game. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you're a 20-point underdog. Yeah. Fans know about that stuff. They're not
putting 50 on everybody.
Exactly.
And OSU's giving up 37 a game in conference. It's not a good recipe.
Nobody shows up and says, "Yes, I want to get my butt kicked." Right. And if that's the feeling from the fan base, then they're not going to be excited about the game. And that's just the honest truth.
Yeah, you're right. Now, let's talk about that Baylor game last week, because Oklahoma State had that game won a couple of times. In the third quarter, there was a big run by Lovett. That was Lovett for Baylor. Rips off a 75-yarder. Baylor's going into the wind in that third quarter. Rips off a 75-yard touchdown run into the wind. That was a huge play in that game. Man, I think if that play doesn't happen, I think Oklahoma State wins. But then on that last offensive possession, I fully agree with going for it on 4th down. You get the 4th down, you win the game. It's 4th and 3. What I don't agree with is running the most predictable play in your playbook that had no chance of success. So hold on. Let me
predictable.
Let me take you through my thought process.
Okay.
Baylor knows that on 4th down and 3, you're not going to turn around and run the ball up the gut. There's too many. On 4th and 1, you can trick them. On 4th and 3, I don't think you're going to trick anybody. So the linebacker doesn't bite on the play action. Now he's bearing down on Cornelius. The play took too long to develop. I mean, I couldn't see the wide shot. I haven't looked at the all-22, but what I could see on TV, I had one receiver in the route across the middle. That was Tyron Johnson. So I love the idea to go for it on 4th down, but I hate taking a play-action play that takes 3 seconds to develop. They're not biting on the play action. You got too many yards to get. That linebacker was in Cornelius's lap like that.
Yes, he was. And you're right about a lot of things, but as far as the predictability of the play, I don't totally agree with you on that. Maybe, I mean, if they saw tape from the week previous Texas game, 4th down, close to the red zone, remember they go for it.
Similar
what do they
play.
do? Similar play.
Yeah.
Maybe if they see that, they're like, okay, we know what they're going to do here. That's a mistake if that's the case. But I don't think it's a predictable play. I do think they should have ran a different play where they were moving the ball forward and didn't have so long of a progression in the play.
It took a long time to develop.
Too long to get it going. That wasn't the case. In my opinion, if I'm sitting there, I run zone read. It's worked. It's effective. Cornelius has the option to run. If he reads it properly, he can give the ball to Justice Hill. That's the play, a forward-moving play. I thought that should have been the case.
And that exact play worked late against Texas.
Exactly.
Remember, 3rd and 6, whenever they had a chance to get the 1st down and ice the game, zone read, the end collapse, Cornelius took it 8 yards for a 1st down. I love that idea.
And I'm pretty sure maybe that's what they were thinking. OSU's coaching staff was thinking, okay, they're going to think we're going to run
their heads a little bit.
Yeah, got in their heads, got a little, out-coached at that point of the game.
I think they overthought it.
And it's easy to do.
It is.
It's easy to do. But sometimes you got to run the play that's most effective. Your bread and butter, what you can handle and take care of, and be like, all right, we can hang our hat on this one.
Yeah.
Let's go run it.
See, and let's talk about this. This is the Oklahoma State Franchise pregame show brought to you by Seth Wadley Ford and Perry. We're here hanging out at the garage in Stillwater. As you can see the people behind us, we're having a great time getting ready for the Bedlam matchup today. Talking about bread and butter. Deion, I swear, almost called you Donovan. I swear, if I watch Justice Hill get 4 carries today in the first half, I'm leaving and you're doing the post-game show by yourself.
Nobody wants that.
I'm tired of talking about it. You talk about your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Give the ball to the best player on the field. What am I watching every week that they're not giving him the ball?
And I've been hearing that week in and week out and week in and week out.
All season.
And the thing is, I agree, but I don't agree wholeheartedly. I don't think you just give the ball to Justice Hill. I think you give it to all those backs back there. You literally have 4 backs. And LD Brown had an ankle early in the season, and he hasn't seen a lot of playing time. But you can still count him as that 4th back there that can tote the rock for you and be effective, okay? You got to give the ball not just to Justice Hill, but the backs. One of the teams that had extreme success against against OU was Army. Why did they get extreme success? They kept that offense on the bench. They couldn't run anything because they were on the field. They were collecting first downs and draining that clock the whole time. We have to run the ball effectively. One of our best run plays, outside zone. We have to run outside zone at least 15 times today to be successful. And not only that, you have to hit Chuba Hubbard on that thing, man. Chuba gets in the hole, he's methodical, he's fast, and when he sees it, he goes.
Get him in space.
You gotta get those athletes into space, run the football effectively, and we have a shot at this one.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're saying all the backs, I'm saying Justice. We're essentially talking about the same thing here. What we're saying is last week in Waco, when Taylor Cornelius threw the ball 24 times in the first half, in a 25-mile-an-hour wind, I didn't go back and break it down by quarter. I bet 15 of his 24 were in the second quarter, where Oklahoma State was going against the wind. That's just, you're not giving your offense a chance to be successful. Put your offensive players in a position to have success. That's all I want. And Taylor Cornelius throwing the ball 24 times and a half. What was Taylor Cornelius' 2 best games this year? It was Boise State and it was Texas. And in both games, they didn't ask him to throw it 45 times. They asked him to throw it about 30 times. In the Boise game, I think he only threw it 25 times. He ran the ball more, and that was much more effective for Oklahoma State. Don't try to make Taylor Cornelius be Mason Rudolph. Just let Taylor Cornelius be Taylor Cornelius.
And here's the thing on that, though. For this team to be effective running the football, like we're both saying, they got to connect on the deep balls. It's one of the things that they, excuse me, I'm sorry, but they have to connect on the deep balls, so therefore they don't crowd the box. They don't put 8 guys in there so they can't run the outside zone or QB runs or QB powers or read zone. You gotta connect on the deep throws to loosen up that defense. And this OU defense, they like to play zone defense. They're gonna sit back there, play catch technique, and let you do what you do and try to hang on tight so you don't score more points than their offense does.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's going to be tricky because that OU offense is the real deal. It's look, OU and Bama to me are the 2 best offenses in the country. I think 6-1, half dozen the other. I think Alabama has scored more touchdowns. I think OU's higher yards per play, if I'm getting those numbers right. So you can pick and choose which offense you think is better, but Oklahoma, I mean, they're putting 50 up on everybody. They put 50 on Tech last week. They put 50 plus on TCU, on Kansas State. They put 66 on Baylor earlier this year. Their down game, the only game they lost this year, they scored 45 against Texas. You're going to win most games where you score 45 points. Certainly wouldn't have won Bedlam last year, but is there any way, let me ask you this. Besides just running the ball offensively and keeping their offense on the sidelines like Army did, if your defense has to be out there and OU has 25 minutes time of possession, is there any way to slow them down and keep them under, let's even say 40? Or are they just too talented?
I mean, there's a way, and it's going to be hard to accomplish, but there is a way. I mean, first of all, you have to stop their favorite plays. You got to make them one-dimensional. Those are things that you say on defense that it's easy to say but hard to do. One of the things, GT counter, they love running that play. Guard in the tackle, pull from the other side, lead that back up into the hole. You got to cut that play, you got to chase it from behind, and you got to get it stopped. Number 2, zone read. Kyler Murray is very, very effective.
He's so fast.
Very, very effective with the zone read. You got to make sure you're disciplined with your keys in your eyes and stop that play. If you got the quarterback, stay with the quarterback. If you got the back, stay with the back. And then number 3, something that they threw in a little wrinkle is the option play. They run that too because of the fact that Kyler Murray can run the football. So if that's the other thing, it's the same thing as the zone read. Make sure you're disciplined. Stay on your eyes on your keys. Focus on the running back and the quarterback, and then you're good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's man, Kyler Murray's impressive. He's exceeded what I thought that he was going to be as a quarterback at Oklahoma. I thought he was going to be a good player. I did. We heard about how fast he was, knew he had a pretty decent arm. I didn't think he was going to come out and just absolutely torch every defense he's faced and be in the Heisman conversation. People are talking about now, who was it went on? It was Todd McShay went on this morning and said that he doesn't even know if he's going to play baseball next year. He might come back and play football again, which is a scary thought for the rest of the Big 12. But is this what you thought we were going to get from Kyler Murray? Or is he just, because he's exceeded my wildest expectations?
You know me. I'm from Dallas. I'm a Dallas kid.
Yeah.
I've been hearing about Kyler Murray ever since he was a sophomore in high school. Dude never lost a game, played for the top. First of all, this is what's impressive. He played for one of the top teams in the state of Texas.
Which high school did you go to?
Allen, Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? To start as a sophomore at Allen, that says amazing things about you. To win a state championship in the state of Texas, that says amazing things about you. To never lose a high school game, that's unheard of.
It's incredible.
So the fact is, he was picked, I mean, he was touched. You're going to be that guy. And he has been, and he's shown that this year. One of the things that I've heard from a coach in the National Football League, it was Alabama's offensive coordinator last year, and he's the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills this year, says, good quarterbacks, they can hit the side of the house. Average quarterbacks, you know, they can hit the front porch. The good quarterbacks, they can hit that front door. The amazing quarterbacks, they can hit the doorknob.
Yeah.
He said, Tua, he can hit the keyhole. And it's the same thing with Kyler Murray. The difference between Kyler Murray and what nobody knew about him was his accuracy. That kid is accurate. Not only is he fast, not only is his dad one of the top quarterback gurus in Texas where people fly in to come see. So he knows how to read defenses, he knows he's a smart kid, but he's also accurate with the football. I mean, he has a couple of games where he slipped up and made some mistakes. You saw that last week, the first two series where Texas Tech dropped into coverage late. They showed blitz, they dropped into coverage, and he didn't see the guy, or the ball kind of just floated out of his arms a little bit, kind of sailed him a little. Those mistakes happen. But other than that, homeboy is good.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's the accuracy on the deep ball, I mean, throwing it out there for Hollywood Brown. I mean, really throw it as far as you can throw it, and Hollywood Brown's going to go get it. But, yeah, Kyler's pretty incredible. This is your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. We need to take a break. We'll come back and continue to get you ready for Bedlam. We're here at the Garage in Stillwater, having a great time. We're about a block south of Boone Pickens Stadium here in Stillwater. Glad to be out here. If you're saying, who's this guy? That's not Donovan. That's Deion Imade. We're glad Deion's with us today. Deion, we appreciate you filling in. We're glad to have you. Come join us here at the Garage in Stillwater. We take a break, continue to preview Bedlam on the other side, right here on your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show.
107.7, the franchise pregame and postgame show, brought to you by Oklahoma Air National Guard. Contact Oklahoma Air National Guard at 800-GO-TO-ANG or visit their website at goang.com/OK for more information about how to get 100% college tuition. And OSU Communication. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered with parking tips and bus schedule information. We'll be right back.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-6010.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
Imade with you here from the garage in Stillwater, ready to roll for Bedlam.
Yes, sir.
It's about an hour away. I've gone back and forth all week on this game. I tell you, I have not gone back and forth all week on this game. I think OU's going to win. I think they're going to win by a few touchdowns. But the closer we get to the game, I don't know if I'm trying to talk. I really don't know what it is. I think Oklahoma State could have a chance to keep this game close, where it's competitive in the fourth quarter, if they commit to running the ball, if they have success on third downs, if they can keep their offense on the field. I just don't know about slowing OU down defensively. Let me ask you this. I threw this out last night when I was on the air with John Hoover about doing something crazy from a coaching standpoint. And when I say do something crazy from a coaching standpoint, I mean you want to keep OU's offense off the field, don't punt to them. Don't punt to them. You've got 4th and 5 at your own 30, go for it. Go for it, because you've got a better chance to convert 4th and 5 than you do to keep OU from going 70 yards and scoring a touchdown. Am I crazy?
I'm going to leave you. Are you nuts? Not
No, I'm not nuts. Don't punt.
On third,
Don't punt.
So you're telling me we're backed up.
Yep.
On our own 30.
Yep.
4th and 5.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
I don't know about that.
Are you going to keep OU from going and scoring?
No. I mean, I know the percentages on going for it on 4th down, but the thing is, it's a small sample size.
It is?
Going for it on 4th down in your own territory?
See, here's the thing.
I'm not buying it.
It's risky. If you were as talented as Oklahoma, if you were going to be able to just play standard football and go out and have a chance to win this game, I'd say play standard football, coach standard football, go out and have a chance to win this game. I think you have to do something crazy. I think OU is a lot better than OSU is. I like to. Let's get weird. Let's get weird.
Well, let's be reasonable about it, though. Let's not take it and just throw caution to the wind.
Okay, reasonable is not going for it on 4th and 15. But on 4th and 5, go get a first down.
All right, 4th and 5 on the 45, faking a punt. I can get with that, okay? Going for it on your own 35, no. You're asking it to get fired.
You know what else we have to see at some point today? We have to see a surprise onside kick at some point in this game from Oklahoma State. 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter, Oklahoma State needs to find ways to get extra possessions.
Yes.
That's what's going to give Oklahoma State a chance to compete in this game is extra possessions. Surely you're in with me on the surprise onside kick.
At this point, at this time, with this game, you got to pull all the tricks out of your bag. You got to pull them all out. There's no hiding it. Just dump it all out on the table right now and let's go get something, okay? Because we are 20-point underdogs. You know what that says? You know what that says? We got nothing to lose.
So we got nothing to lose. It also says the guys out in Vegas who make a whole bunch of money think that this is going to be an absolute rout in Norman. And look, maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. This rivalry, despite being one-sided in terms of wins and losses, has had a lot of close games. It's usually the same team that wins all the close games. It's usually Oklahoma, but that doesn't mean that these games haven't been competitive. Elsewhere in the Big 12 today, we're watching the West Virginia TCU game on this screen here in front of us because, like I said, we're at the garage. And if you're at the garage, you can't look anywhere without seeing a football game.
That's true.
40-10, West Virginia leads TCU in the 3rd quarter. TCU, man, they're going to go to 4-6 after this game. I mean, it's been a disaster of a season for them.
And I don't understand what happened. I feel like there were some injuries that took place or something, but at the beginning of the season, they were one of the top dogs in the state. I mean, they went on, then they took on Ohio State, proved to be a very good competitive game.
They led that game in the 2nd half against Ohio State.
For most of it. And all of a sudden, they fell asleep, and I think they find themselves in a situation where they know they're not going to make to the Big 12 championship. Their starting quarterback got hurt, and so everybody's just throwing in the towel. And it's sad to see because, I mean, I grew up in Texas, like I've said before. I was
from Dallas, right?
I'm from a Dallas kid, so I'm close to that neck of the woods. And so, I mean, you kind of want to see TCU do good sometimes. This ain't it.
No, this is not it. I think their biggest problem they ran into is they thought Sean Robinson was going to be a really good player, and he just hasn't panned out. He turned the ball over a lot. TCU is 2-4 in the Big 12 because they were able to beat Kansas State a week ago. Kansas State and TCU might have been playing for last place in the conference, not the Rock Chalk Jayhawks, because Rock Chalk, baby, they lead Kansas State right now in the 4th quarter. Kansas is up 17-14 in Manhattan.
What?
On Kansas is up 17-14 in Manhattan. Kansas could win 2 conference games this year after losing the Nichols to open the season. I'm all in Rock Chalk Jayhawk when it comes to football.
Well, I mean,
basketball, quit paying your players, yourself, let go of the toupee. But football, Rock Chalk, baby.
See, and that's the thing. This is an inspired Kansas bunch right now, playing for David Beatty, and you know, heard he just got released, and everybody else and the president allowed him to finish off the season, but still an inspired team playing for their coach, who essentially will not be their coach next year.
Yeah, it's wild. It's good for Kansas. So that would be. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. Okay, this is the Kansas Jayhawks. They could get their 4th win of the season today. Their 4th win of the season. 4-5, 4-6, maybe 4-6.
I don't understand how they let that guy go if he wins 4 games. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Like
doesn't make sense.
It's not like you've had all the success in the world.
You've been the worst team in the Power 5.
If he goes out there and gets his 2nd Big 12 championship. I mean, not championship. Hold on there.
Each
Big
12 win for Kansas is like a Big 12 championship, yeah.
So if he gets his 2nd win, I mean, that's progress. That's progression. I mean, I don't see how you go out there and cut a guy loose who's kind of, showing that he's making strides in the program, and putting his best foot forward, and they're moving up the ladder.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when they hired him, it seemed like Kansas had finally had a plan. David Beatty is a guy who is known in the Texas High School Football Association. Everybody knows if you want to recruit in the state of Texas, where you have so much talent, you have to be in with the Texas High School Football Association. He was in there, so therefore more recruits were going to start coming Kansas's way, and he was going to be able to implement his style of football, his guys, and with the athletes that he was bringing over, they were going to start to be competitive. Now when you let him go, it shows, oh, what's your plan here? I know everybody's talking about Les Miles, but that's a face. I mean, Les Miles
ain't going to Kansas. I don't think Les Miles is going to Kansas.
Let's be honest though, he's made many claims that he still wants to coach college football.
He does.
Many claims. But the thing is, the way he runs his offense and the style that he runs, those days are long gone.
It doesn't fit in the Big 12.
It fits in the SEC for some teams.
Big
but I mean,
10.
Exactly.
Maybe even ACC, but not elsewhere.
But you can even see in those leagues that style of football is slightly going away.
It's working its way out.
Exactly. So will Les Miles take that job? I don't know. But even if he does, I don't know if it'll be something that, hey, has success for Kansas in the long run.
Yeah, I look at Kansas, and I think Jeff Long comes in as the athletic director up there. I think he just wants his own guy.
Yeah.
I really do. And if you're a head coach and a new athletic director gets hired, it's a tough spot to be because you know that guy's going to want his own guy.
It's the same way like in NFL or the NBA.
Yeah.
When a new GM comes in, you can sit and wait and see if you have success. But as soon as you're like, nope, he's not me. He's out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Deion Imade. I am Colby Powell. We're going to head back to Robin Hearn down in Norman. She's down there with some OU students who are going to have some thoughts on the game today. Before we do that, tomorrow's Veterans Day. Let's head out to Library Lawn and let's take a peek at all the flags, the thousands of flags for the men and women who have laid it on the line for all of us. And then we'll send it to Robin Hearn in Norman, and then we'll be back.
Norman, I have Janae Reed. Okay, so let's get into this matchup, and I'm going to get from the Sooners' perspective. How do you think the Sooners can come on top today?
Definitely dominating on offense. Obviously, you guys are a great team. Going back to when we both played Texas, obviously we didn't come out with a win, but I think with Kyler Murray connecting specifically with CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown, two obviously great receivers, I think that we can go ahead and come out with the win if we continue to dominate on offense today.
Okay. How do you think the defense is going to match up today? Because I know that defense does allow a lot of the yards on both sides. So how's that going to be?
We have number 9, Kenneth Murray. We have him on defense, so I obviously think him continuously getting tackles, I think we will come out with the win. Dominating on defense, obviously, I think the Big 12, we really don't play that much defense. It's more of the offense and the passing game. So with defense needing to focus and dominate to make sure that we can kind of show you guys the offense to get on.
So can you give me a score prediction? How do you think today's going to go?
I'm going to go score very tight. Obviously, these are two great offenses, so I'm going to go 35-33 OU.
All right, well, you heard it here. So we're going to take another commercial break and be right back on The Franchise.
7, the Franchise pregame and postgame show, brought to you by Oklahoma Air National Guard. Contact Oklahoma Air National Guard at 800-GO-TO-ANG or visit their website at goang.com/OK for more information about how to get 100% college tuition. And OSU Communication. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered with parking tips and bus schedule information. We'll be right back.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Come hang out with us as we get you ready for Bedlam. Cornelius v. Murray. Advantage Murray, but should be a good one today in Norman regardless.
Well, okay, so I talked to some friends at work, and they were trying to figure out a way where we could see ourselves having the advantage here. And they kind of broke it down to me in a kind of simple, but, you know, kind of odd way. But think about it. Taylor Cornelius, West Texas kid, you know, hard-nosed, built Ford tough.
Really trying to figure out where you're going with this.
You know, can handle the weather pretty good, right?
Built Ford tough.
You know, Kyler Murray, kind of a smaller, undersized quarterback, baseball player, you know, state of Texas as well, but Allen, Texas. Maybe Cornelius handles the weather better than Kyler does. Maybe that comes into play. Could you see an advantage there?
This is what you're doing, Deion. You're reaching. You're really reaching.
That's not what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're like you're jumping across the table to the other side of the garage, reaching for some reason why Cornelius is going to outplay Kyler Murray. Here's the thing. I don't have any expectations for Cornelius to outplay Kyler Murray. I don't even think Cornelius has to outplay Kyler Murray for Oklahoma State to compete in this game. I think Cornelius needs to be put in a position to do what Cornelius does well. That's run the zone read. He throws the ball across the middle of the field pretty well. That throw he made to Tyler Wallace for the first touchdown in the Texas game, best throw he's made all season. The deep ball, it's important for Oklahoma State's offense. I think that they need to be deliberate about when they take their shots, though. I think that they need to get the running game going. I think they need to set up the pass with the run. Where in the past with Rudolph, I think they used the pass to set up the run. I think they need to use the run to set up the pass. Get a few runs, shotgun play action to Justice Hill. Maybe you get Tylan Wallace one-on-one with Parnell Motley on the edge. Now you take your shot. Just give Tylan Wallace a chance to make a play. But I think you run the ball with Justice Hill, Chuba Hubbard, and those guys, some zone read with Cornelius, suck that defense in, and then hit them over the top.
See, and I have the opposite thinking of where you're going. I think you set up the run with the pass, and I think you set up the deep ball pass with the intermediate pass. The zone defense of OU, they hang back. They play soft coverage, especially with Ruffin McNeil coming into play as the new defensive coordinator. For a while now, they have been playing soft zone defense. One of the things I noticed on film that stood out to me most was these cornerbacks, their cushion, their depth, their alignment, it's very deep. We need to take full advantage of that like we did versus Baylor last week. 5-yard outs, curl routes, hitch route. You got to hit them 5 yards at a time. And then when they start to come up a little bit more, that's when Tylan Wallace and Tyron Johnson goes deep and a deep down the field. You hit, you connect on those, then they have to widen out, they have to space out, and then the box is freed up so you can run the football more effectively.
Yeah, coming into the season, I think that there was a large belief that Tyron Johnson coming in was going to be the #1 receiver for Oklahoma State, and he has not been. It's been Tylan Wallace. Tylan Wallace, he's been unbelievable. I mean, we talk about, go ahead.
And here's the difference between the two of those guys. Tylan Wallace doing a great job catching balls that are contested. Tyron Johnson, not so much.
Yeah, you're right. Tyron Johnson, when he's gotten himself into open space, he's made some plays this year. It's not as if the guy's been non-existent, but Tylan Wallace, I mean, he's mossing people.
Yeah.
That Texas game on the 4th and 1, they dropped back to throw a 35-yard fade into double coverage. I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? And then he reaches up over the top of that quarterback and plucks it right over the top of him. And I'm thinking, that's a good play right there. Well done, everybody.
So that's where you get your analogy from, no, let's not punt. Let's go for it on 3rd and from your 3rd and 5 and your 35 yards.
I'm saying, let's get weird. Yeah. Let's get weird in Norman. Let's do this, Deion. Let's take a look at some of the biggest games across the country today with some of the ranked teams. Might have some playoff implications. We mentioned TCU West Virginia in the Big 12 on right here in front of us. I'm trying to be disciplined and not peek up at it, but I'm sure everybody's caught me peeking up at it a few times. It's now 47-10 after David Sills just caught another touchdown. So the route is all the way on in Morgantown.
It's not looking too good for the Horned Frogs.
No. West Virginia comes to Stillwater next Saturday, Oklahoma State's final home game of the season. As you see the Big 12 slate up on your TV screens. Ohio State has just scored a touchdown to go up 16-6 on Michigan State. Ohio State, I described them earlier this week as the worst one-loss team in the country right now. I feel like they're trying to lose another game. They're like, beat me, and everybody's getting close, but nobody's beating them.
And offensively, they're so stagnant right now. I mean,
it's brutal.
You can hear what you just said, 16-6.
16-6.
How much time is left in the game?
Quarter, 14 minutes left in the game.
I know Big Ten football doesn't score a lot of points, but still, for Ohio State to only have 16 points at this time of the game, not cute.
Yeah, it's ugly. UCF, one of the undefeateds remaining in college football, 35-24. They lead Navy with 2 minutes left. Humble brag, one of my picks this week. I had Navy plus 25. That's way too many points. They're down by 11 with 2 minutes left. So I think that's going to cover. You think UCF has any business wanting to get on the same field with Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, the top 4 right now? You think they have any business wanting to be on that football field?
Here's what I say. Alabama, Clemson, no. Michigan, Notre Dame? Yes.
Let me, it's super professional to look at my phone while we're on the air. But the only reason I'm doing it is because I've got lines. I've got point spreads for what it would be on a neutral site. Oh, and now I've lost it. Okay, here it is.
There you go.
So, Alabama against Clemson. Alabama will be an 8.5-point favorite. These are theoretical matchups on a neutral field. Alabama will be 8.5-point favorites over Clemson. They'd be 20.5-point favorites over Notre Dame. 14-point favorites over Michigan. Alabama on a neutral site would be a 31-point favorite over Central Florida.
Yikes.
31 points.
31?
31.
That's in
Vegas knows.
In Vegas world, that's a lot of points.
31 points.
Would you take UCF on that one?
No, Bama would cover. Bama would cover. Oh, sorry, those boys from Bama would push those Central Florida kids around.
Oh,
they would. It's tough. Keep winning your game in Central Florida. We're all proud of you. We're all proud of you.
Good job.
No, they don't belong in the college football playoff. Florida leads South Carolina 35-31 in the fourth quarter. Florida did not look very good against Missouri at home last week, but the SEC playing some good football. And then Penn State leads Wisconsin 22-10 in the fourth. Penn State moving to 7-3. Wisconsin going to 6-4. What a clunker of a season for the Badgers.
And you know, the Badgers have those years where they're great at running the football, and then they have those years where they're not so great, and they go as their running game does. This year, they're still good at toting the rock, but not as prolific as they were last year. So you're seeing the downslide from them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, those big offensive linemen, they need a good group up front, and then they need a Melvin Gordon type who's lighting the NFL on fire at running back to go out there and eat up some yardage. Elsewhere today, number 16 Mississippi State is on the road at Alabama. That line's actually dropped. Alabama only a 22.5-point favorite now over the number 16 team in the country. They'll probably cover. You know what Alabama's average margin of victory is this year? Take a guess.
I want to say 21.
You're not even close. 37.
37?
Alabama is winning games by an average margin of 37 points this year.
Wow.
Best college football team of all time if they go 15-0?
Man, with Tua back there, I don't see how you can say. But no, you know what? Those Miami teams, man. Those Miami teams.
Alabama with Tua beat those teams by 2 touchdowns.
No way. No.
Are you talking about the 01 Miami team or the 88 Miami team?
I'm talking about 01.
That team was good.
I'm talking about
that team had how many first round
picks? I'm talking
picks?
about Ed Reed rolling around back there.
Jonathan Vilma.
I'm talking about Vilma. Kim Dorsey.
Those dudes could play. Tua greater than Dorsey.
I think you're right about that.
Tua's a stud.
I think you're right.
Tua's an absolute stud. Michigan and Rutgers. Michigan might slip up before the end of the season. It will not be today. They will not lose to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I saw a weird headline the other day. We forget, you know, it wasn't that long ago when teams that are totally irrelevant now were pretty good. If you remember the Ray Rice era,
oh yeah,
I saw a story the other day, and it said 12 years ago today, Rutgers and Louisville were at the center of the college football world, and I thought to myself, that's only been 12 years. It feels like a century ago that
how the mighty have fallen.
Right.
And if you want to be honest, if we're going back to that game, Michigan being the team that they are right now, number 3 in the college football. Number four, excuse me. Notre Dame number 3. But Michigan seems like it's the only team that has a possibility of losing and getting out of the college football playoffs at this point. I mean, if you look at the schedules, everybody's good lining up. The only thing is Michigan has Ohio State, and the way Ohio State's playing as of late, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but that's the only team that has a shot to get kicked out of that position because of their scheduling right now.
And it's a much smaller sample size, but Harbaugh has a little bit of the Gundy problem in the rivalry. Yeah. He hadn't beaten Ohio State yet since he's been up there. So he needs to get the job done in that game this year. I do still think Notre Dame has a chance to lose. I know Florida State's down, but Florida State, Syracuse, and USC on the road to close the season out, all that pressure, every year in November we see teams lose games that they shouldn't because that pressure mounts. They feel the weight of getting in, just win and you're in, and then they lose to a team they shouldn't.
And it's also how healthy is their starting quarterback going to be after this week. He's already been, technically ruled out and not the starter this week versus the team that they're playing. Will he play next week is the question.
Yeah. Washington State and Colorado. Did you hear Mike Leach talking about the Buffalo earlier in the week? Oh, man, it was great. He's like, I love Colorado. They got one of the best live mascots, that Buffalo. He's out there. Those trainers think they're running with him, but really he's just running them all over the field. Mike Leach is...
he's a national treasure.
He's incredible.
He is.
Mike Leach is incredible. I love listening to him talk. Washington State 8-1. They're hanging around the conversation.
Yeah, but
I give them a 0% chance of getting in the playoff, even if they run the table. But they're hanging around the conversation, staying relevant at least.
It's always good to be invited to the party.
Yeah, it always is, no doubt. Kentucky and Tennessee, game doesn't do a lot for me. Northwestern and Iowa. Big 12 game, Baylor at Iowa State. Iowa State wins out. Got a great chance to play in the Big 12 title game. Don't know if anybody would have thought that whenever they were sitting at 1-3, but here they are playing some really good football. Matt Campbell, I think, is one of the best head coaches in the country.
He truly is, and I do not anticipate him being at Iowa State next year.
No.
Do not anticipate that.
I don't either. They've done what they've needed to do in terms of giving him a raise, trying to keep him in town, and they've done that.
There's only so much they can do.
And he's awesome. Only so much you can do. You're Iowa State. Maybe the Ohio State job comes open. If it does, he's a shoo-in. He's an Ohio kid. He's a shoo-in. He's got to be there. Auburn and Georgia. Auburn, major disappointment this year. Georgia just needs to keep on rolling to the SEC title game, give themselves a chance to stay in the playoff conversation. Florida State at Notre Dame, like we said. Notre Dame 16-point favorites at home, 6:30 game tonight. It's an NBC game, Notre Dame home game, so NBC game. Texas at Texas Tech. What do you think about this one? Another conference game?
You got to remember, this is the whole Crabtree takes the ball down.
It's the anniversary, isn't it?
It's the anniversary of Crabtree taking that ball into the end zone, beating Texas, and upsetting them. This is good. I think this is going to be a good game.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Ellinger is back healthy. I think he's back to being, I want to say, 75%, 80% plus. If that's the case, they could probably keep the ball away from Texas Tech. And I don't know what the situation is like there back there for their quarterback.
Don't think Bowman's playing.
Yeah,
he's got this tricky thing where his lungs keep collapsing.
Yeah,
it's not a good situation.
Not a good condition to have.
You ever had a collapsed lung?
Never.
God, it sounds painful. It sounds awful.
I wouldn't
Trying
doubt
to breathe with a collapsed lung.
People talk about breathing with a broken rib is terrible.
Yeah. Add collapsed lungs to the ever-long list of reasons that I did not play football. Shout out golf. Clemson at Boston College tonight. Boston College, number 17 in the country. Probably not that good. Clemson 18.5-point favorites on the road. I think Clemson's just going to obliterate them.
Yeah, I think Sunshine's going to go down there and give them a
Sunshine.
I think he's going to give them a steady heap of downfield passes, and they're going to take that one for the win.
Who did you steal that from? I have not heard Trevor Lawrence called Sunshine.
Hey, man, that's Sunshine. You look at him, and you're like, that's Sunshine.
It is?
Yeah.
It is? You can throw him out, but you can't pitch it 3 yards. Come on now. Gosh, that's a great movie. I love that. I can play it from start to finish, but I won't put everybody through that. That's Deion and Imade. I'm Colby Powell. We're hanging out at the garage, getting ready for Bedlam. OU and OSU, come join us. Place is filling up. Everybody, we got Michigan State, Ohio State over here, TCU, West Virginia over here, and we're about to have the OU OSU game on all these TVs in this place. Social media, Deion, when you played, how much was it? Obviously, I mean, you're not 40 or anything. You were here somewhat recently.
Right.
Was social media as big of a deal in terms of players posting and talking trash on social media, kind of like we saw Justice Hill do with the Instagram post earlier this week?
I mean, it was a big deal, but I think it's even more amplified in this day and age. I mean, there was players that said stuff, and we could look at it on Twitter, and I remember a couple of our players and our teammates, you know, saying stuff on Twitter that got the attention of other teams and stuff like that. But nowadays, it's a whole new ordeal. Everybody's looking, everybody's finding stuff. So, I mean, it's a big, big thing now.
Yeah, Justice Hill tweeted out, put on Instagram the picture earlier of him running into the end zone last year in the Bedlam game, and he basically put captions over the defenders behind him.
He tagged the turf, he tagged the fans, he tagged little boy, he tagged kids.
I think little boy, was it Trey Norwood, I think is who he tagged little boy? Yeah. Trey Norwood's a small guy, I'll give him that. But, you know, Justice got some beef. People are like, yeah, what was the score to that game whenever he put it up? I like a little Bedlam trash talk. I don't know if it's a good thing to taunt the team that's a 21-point favorite, but, I mean, we live in 2018. I think that a little bit of this is to be expected.
But here's the thing. I think we all know Justice Hill. He's a humble kid. He doesn't do anything like that. He's not the guy who's out there.
It seemed a little out of character for him, yeah.
I think Justice had a method to his madness. I think he saw the way the game was being portrayed, the 20-point underdogs, and the rivalry energy was gone. I think he also saw that game versus Texas Tech. You saw some OU players throwing a couple punches. You saw some personal fouls. You saw, CD Lamb getting into some taunting stuff. I think he saw that and said, all right, maybe I can ruffle these guys' feathers a little bit. Maybe I could get into their heads a little bit and distract them from the actual game and then paying attention to me and talking trash to me and trying to stop me instead of focusing on what you have to do during the game. Maybe a little bit of a Muhammad Ali aspect coming into play here where you defeat them before the game even starts.
Man.
Hey, and another thing.
The GOAT comparison.
You see that? It also boosted the morale of his teammates. You could see during those interviews, people were asking him about them, the bright smiles that came on Tyron Johnson's face. You could see Tylan Wallace smiling, just cheering. I think he might have done good for the aspect of getting in the heads of some of the OU players and also boosting the morale of his teammates.
Yeah, maybe. Let's slow down on the Ali comparison. Ali is the greatest trash talker who has ever lived. There will never be another. They didn't call him the Louisville Lip for nothing. That dude could talk. Shout out Muhammad Ali, my favorite athlete of all time, Muhammad Ali. We're hanging out here at the garage getting ready for Bedlam. It's going to be a great day one way or another. Bedlam's always a ton of fun. Hopefully Oklahoma State can keep it competitive down in Norman. We're going to do buy or sell. We've got a special edition of buy or sell this week. Every week we do 5. It's Bedlam. There's too many players. There's too many stars out on the field. We're doing 7 buy or sells today. We'll do best of 7. We'll grade them whenever we get done in the post game. So I think you filled in once last year. And if I'm remembering correctly, didn't you wipe the floor with me in buy or sell?
Well, I don't want to brag, but you know.
I think you went 5-0 the one time you were on.
I think I destroyed you.
Yeah, that's trash. Revenge coming up next. Buy or sell. Stay with us on your Oklahoma State Franchise Pregame Show.
1077, the Franchise Pregame and Postgame Show, brought to you by The Table. Stop by The Table on Thursdays at 8 p.m. to join their Bible study. Shoot Rachel an email at rachel@thetableosu.com for more information. And Campbell Property Management. If you're looking for luxury living in Stillwater, please contact Campbell Property Management at 405-372-9225 or visit their website at campbellmanagement.com. That's campbellmgmt.com for more information. We'll be right back.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
After all these years,
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back in to your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. Colby Powell, Donovan Woods is not here this Saturday, is what I was going to say.
I knew you were going to get one time. I knew you were going to get one of them.
It was so good. I've caught myself 2 or 3 times. Donovan Woods is not here. That is not Donovan Woods. That's Deion Imade. We're hanging out at the garage in Stillwater, getting you ready for Bedlam. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I want to make sure we have enough time because we've got 7 of these today. We've got a special edition of the buy or sell. Here, the paper crinkle. That's the official score sheet. This is official. We're not playing a game. This is real life. This is official.
You are going to remind them that I am the buy or sell champ, right?
No.
You're not going to do that?
No. We told them that before the break. If they didn't listen, I can't help them.
I am the buy or sell champ.
We don't need to repeat ourselves for the viewers.
I just want everybody to know.
All right. So let's start with Taylor Cornelius. I think a lot of points are going to be scored today. I'm putting his number for passing yards a little bit higher than I have the last few weeks. Are you buying or selling that Taylor Cornelius throws for 310 yards today against Oklahoma?
I'll buy that.
310?
310.
You're buying 310?
I mean, that secondary for OU has been a little suspect, so I think he gets past 310.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell it. Ooh. This is my reasoning.
Okay.
I really think Oklahoma State's going to commit to the run today. I've said this several times this season, and I keep saying it, and they keep doing not that. So I'm committing this week, they're committing to the run game. Justice Hill, Chuba Hubbard, J.D. King, I'm thinking... and with Cornelius running the ball, I'm thinking 45 rushes today for Oklahoma State.
You do know the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah. Watching Oklahoma State football every Saturday. That's the definition of insanity. Second one, buy or sell, Justice Hill rushes the ball for 115 yards. Got there last week against Baylor. Before that, I think he had, what was it, a 4-game streak of not reaching that number. So buy or sell on Justice Hill getting to 115.
Because of the comments that he's made, I think Coach Gundy is a Justice Hill fan.
I'll put you down for a buy.
So I'm putting buy on that one. I think he wants him to have a good day.
I think he does too. I think Justice Hill, look, he had some good runs last week against Baylor. I sat there. I was probably annoying our crew whenever, usually road games, we watch them in the journalism building here at Oklahoma State. I was probably annoying the crew because before every play, I said, hey, why don't you give it to the best player on the field? And they kept not doing it. And I said, hey, why don't you give it to the best player on the field? Today they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
We're watching the game together today. Yep. Don't do that.
No, I won't do that. I won't do that. I'll just wait until after the play and I'll say, why didn't they give it to the best player on the field? That's what I'll do. It's going to drive you nuts. It's going to be great. Can't wait. All right, so we're both buying Justice Hill at 115. You buying or selling Tyler Wallace having 120-plus receiving yards today against Oklahoma?
For some reason, I want to sell that.
Really?
For some reason, I want to sell that. I know
that's the one I thought you would buy, and that's the one you're going to sell.
That he's had a couple of games in a row with 100-plus games. I think he still reaches 100. I don't think he reaches 120 if he even does reach 100.
Okay, I'm buying on Tyler Wallace. Tyler Wallace has been good to me.
Okay.
So just full disclosure for everybody, you and all the viewers, last week I put the number at 120. Tyler Wallace had 89 receiving yards. Do you remember on the last play of the game, they threw it down the field to Tyler Wallace, then he lateraled?
Yes.
He got credit for a 33-yard reception on that play, ended the game with 122 receiving yards, and it won me buy or sell. I won by 1 pick last week.
Well, that's like,
it was beautiful.
Let's hope that doesn't happen this week.
You talk about backdoor cover of all backdoor covers. That was it in the buy or sell. I'm buying Tyler Wallace. Okay. Tyler's been good to me. All right. Probably the best player on the field today. His name's Kyler Murray. He's an absolute stud. You buying or selling at least 400 all-purpose yards for Kyler Murray?
All-purpose?
All-purpose. Throwing, running, receiving, kick returns, all-purpose.
I'll buy that.
You're buying 400?
I'll buy 400.
That's a big number. I think I have to buy Kyler Murray. I have to. They're putting 50 up on everybody. I mean, how are they going to not give 400 for Kyler? So, yeah.
And seeing how the game was last year, and it's a safe bet.
Yeah, 62-52 last year, and I think it could be something like that again this year. Guy who just went nuts last year, I think it was 265 receiving yards, Hollywood Brown had, is that right? Insane. Buying or selling Hollywood Brown, I put the number at 140 today. I feel like that's a pretty respectable number. He went off last year, you're not going to do that every game. You buying or selling Hollywood gets to at least 140 through the air.
I'm going to sell, and here's the reason why. You saw last week Hollywood kind of came up a little gimpy with that hamstring. Kind of came up a little gimpy with that hamstring. So I'm thinking with the cold weather and with previous hamstring injuries, that guy is full speed. His speed has got to be there for him to be effective. I don't think he has it today.
You lost me at thinking. I think you're overthinking. I think Hollywood Brown's fast. I think Hollywood Brown's a stud. Hamstring, maybe it bothers him, maybe it doesn't. I think he gets to 140. I'm buying. You give me an OU offensive category, I'm buying. You can put the number wherever you want to. I'm buying the OU offensive categories this season. Let's head over to the defensive side for Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State leads the nation in sacks. They're able to get to the quarterback. That's what Jim Knowles wants to do. That's what Jordan Brailford and Calvin Bundage and those guys are really good at. But Kyler's fast. He does not get sacked very often. It's hard to tackle the guy because he's so quick. He's small, really hard to tackle him. You buying or selling that the Oklahoma State defense gets at least 2 sacks today against Oklahoma?
Oklahoma State defense gets 2?
Gets 2 sacks.
I'll buy.
You're gonna buy.
I'll buy. I think they get one in the game, and I think they get one late in the fourth quarter.
Keep in mind, Deion played defense at Oklahoma State, so he's biased.
A little biased.
He's biased. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, I did not play defense at Oklahoma State. I'm selling 2 sacks. I don't know how you get to Kyler Murray. I don't know how you get the guy on the ground. I mean, I watch OU play this year, and I think it's got to be maddening for defenders to run back there, stretch their arms out like this, and then he spins, they turn and look, and he's 10 yards away.
Very true.
It has to be absolutely maddening. So I'm selling on Oklahoma State defense, forcing 2 sacks. And here's the big one for Oklahoma State. You're going to pull off an upset, you need to force some turnovers.
Yes.
Last week, I put the number at 2 for forced turnovers. Oklahoma State got a turnover 3 minutes into the game, did not force one the last 57 minutes. It was brutal.
Yeah.
So today, with the OU offense as good as it is, Oklahoma State's recent inability to turn teams over, I'm putting the number at 1. Buy or sell, the Oklahoma State defense forces a turnover today.
If you would have said 2, I would have sold it. But if you said 1, I'll buy that. A fumble can happen, something, and especially if they're going to get a win today, they're going to need something to happen on the turnover aspect of the game. So I buy.
Sell. S for sell on the Oklahoma State defense forcing turnovers. They're not doing it. Back when you played here at Oklahoma State, many moons ago, what was your last year at Oklahoma State?
2014. Wasn't that far ago.
2014. That's pretty recent. That's pretty recent. I mean, that team was really forcing some turnovers. That 2011 squad, you know why that defense was good? Those guys were out there forcing turnovers. Markel Martin was a ball hawk. Those guys were unbelievable. Now, they just struggle to force turnovers. For whatever reason, not punching the ball out. I don't know what it is. Sometimes there is a little bit of a luck factor to turnovers. The ball either bounces your way on a fumble or it doesn't bounce your way. But Oklahoma State's defense has struggled to force turnovers. So I'm selling the forced turnovers. That's the official sheet for buy or sell. It's officially official. Deion's got no chance. Deion's got no chance.
You do know who's the champ, right?
Champ, no champ, doesn't matter.
You do know who's the champ.
Doesn't matter.
Like Muhammad Ali said, the champ is here.
It's a new day. It's a new dawn. I'm watching Tua highlights on the screen here. Mississippi State and Alabama. I love watching Tua play. He's probably my favorite player in college football to watch him play.
He's all right.
He's all right.
He's all right.
You not a Tua fan?
Nah, man.
You just want to see Alabama fail?
To the day that I die.
Why are you hating?
Because, man, they cheating.
They don't cheat.
They cheating.
Why are they cheating? Because they're better than everybody else? They're better than everybody else, and now they're cheating? Ole Miss was cheating. Alabama.
That's very true.
Alabama might be cheating.
Exactly.
No way, they're beating everybody.
Exactly.
If you're cheating, as long as you're beating people, nobody really cares.
It's not cheating if you don't get caught.
Exactly. Everybody's cheating. Some teams just cheat and win, and some teams cheat and lose.
Exactly.
Again, look at the Patriots. 2 decades they've been cheating and winning. People only care if you cheat if you win. If Ole Miss wouldn't have started winning 11 games, nobody would care that they were cheating.
Very true.
That's what it is. So, Deion Imade, I'm Colby Powell. This year Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. We're here at the garage in Stillwater hanging out. You can tell this place is filling up. Everybody's having a great time. These TVs that have been on all day, they've been switched. We no longer have West Virginia and TCU, which is good because that game was getting hard to stomach, Deion. I've already ate. I had me a great burger here at the garage, and I have to sit here and watch TCU football. TCU football make you sick to your stomach.
Hey, man. 47-10 was the last score that I saw.
It's final. It's over.
And that was not a strong performance. I mean, it was 3-3 in the first quarter into early in the second quarter, 3-3, and all of a sudden, West Virginia decided to, we're playing with y'all.
TCU led 3-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Look at
Lost
that.
47-10.
Look at that.
Got absolutely run off the field in Morgantown. So TCU, Oklahoma State's in Fort Worth the last week of the season.
Yes.
Might need that one for a bowl game. I'm not sure. If you do, aside from Kansas, I don't know if there's another team you could pick in the conference that you'd rather have the last week of the season to get to a bowl game.
Well,
and they lost to Kansas, so.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, because, I mean, the way that things are going, it's looking like we're going to need that game very badly to make it into a bowl game. Man, I don't know, like, I just hope TCU doesn't find their way to having success versus the Cowboys in that last game of the season.
No doubt. You ready for your Rock Chalk Jayhawk update?
Let's go.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk update. Kansas State scored a touchdown with 2:46 left, and Kansas State won the game 21-17.
I knew.
I'm heartbroken.
I knew they were going to, like, find some way to Kansas it up.
I'm heartbroken. They should have won that game. Come on, Kansas. This is what you get rooting for Kansas football. Why am I doing this to myself?
That's the thing right there. That's the saying every Saturday. Come on, Kansas.
Well, I want to look at their schedule real fast. I want to see I think they still have OU, which is not a good. I know they still have OU, which is not going to be a good situation.
Not at all.
I'm pretty sure it's in Norman. That's next week. They're at Norman. They've got Texas at home. I don't like Kansas' chances to get to their 4th win of the season. Yeah. Kansas probably not going bowling.
I don't think it's happening this
Shout out for Mark Mangino for what he did for that Kansas program. Shout out Mark Mangino. All right, before we get out of here today, your keys to the game for Oklahoma State. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball. We'll do both sides. Your keys to the game for the Oklahoma State defense.
Well, for Oklahoma State defense, first I'm going to start at the end. You got to play well in the 4th quarter. That's been a struggle for this team. You got to know that with this new defense that they implemented this season, a lot of man-to-man, a lot of blitzing, kids are tired in the 4th quarter, and they're playing as such. Got to play better in the 4th quarter. Number 2, get off the field on 3rd downs. You got to get off the field. Kyler Murray makes it very hard with his ability to throw the football, ability to see nothing downfield and tuck the ball and take it himself. You got to get off the field on 3rd down and figure out a way to do so. And then number 3, and things that everybody's been talking about this week, play disciplined football. If you have contained, stay on the outside. If you got run and curl on 2 in the pass coverage, stay on curl on 2. If you have spying the quarterback, keep your eyes, please keep your eyes on that quarterback. Play disciplined football, stay away from the penalties. No silly frustration mistakes. Stay away from those. You can play with this team. You just got to play disciplined football.
Yeah, and don't give up penalties on 3rd down. You got to stop on 3rd down. Don't rough the passer. Don't hold the tight end as he runs across the middle of the field. Be disciplined. 133 penalty yards a week ago. Can't happen. You're just not going to win very many football games when you give them a football field and a 3rd worth of penalties. That's absolutely insane. All right, your keys to the game for the Oklahoma State offense.
Offense. Like I said throughout this this telecast, we have to go ahead and connect on the deep passes. Therefore, so we can run the football. When you run the football, number 2, run it effectively and keep this offense on the bench for Oklahoma. It's got to be a situation where you're helping your defense by keeping them fresh and on the bench. And number 3, be mature. This game is going to get chippy. It is going to be chippy because these guys like to play a little reckless. You have to stay on your P's and Q's, play your game, and stay away from the referees and their bad side.
Yeah, absolutely. You might be able to hear. We've got it fired up in here now at the garage. The TV is on. We just had a live shot from Norman. The band's on the field. The stands are packed. It is just about time for Bedlam. We've got about 30 more seconds. Deion, who wins? How many points are scored in this game today?
You know what? There's a lot of times when people ask me throughout the week who's going to win, what's the score, and I've told everybody the same thing. I don't know who's going to win. I'm going to let it play out on TV. And I'm going to tell you the same answer. Okay. I don't know who's going to win. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's let the guys play it out on TV.
I do know who's going to win. OU's going to win. I've got it 58-37. Let's get out of here. Shout out Veterans Day tomorrow. We'll be back after the game. Thanks for joining us.